Houston, we have a problem.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
My mom always said life is like a box of chocolates.
Help me help you.
You are a toy!
My team is dead!
There's no crying in baseball!
Relax. This pod is making you aggressive.
Wilson!
You complete me.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of We Bought a Mic, a podcast about movies, television, music, and running from the law during Christmas time. Taking little airplanes and taking the little sticker off of the tail, very carefully peeling it off and putting it onto a fraudulent check. It's free money, baby.
We'll get into it. It's crazy that more people weren't doing this.
Yeah.
I think they were.
You just needed like more geniuses like Frank Abagnale, George Santos.
Is that what he was doing? Santos?
Something close to
The former congressman?
Yeah, something, it was bank fraud.
Welcome to the show. My name's Ernest.
2 mice fell in a bucket of cream, Frank. Which one am I? My name's Hunter.
The third one.
I'm the third one. I'm the one who died on impact.
And I'm Drew, and I've already busted into my Mobley Christmas cookie haul
Ooh, baby.
this year.
Let's go. Merry Christmas.
'Tis the season.
It's good looking cookies.
Merry everything. You woke libs.
Merry freaking everything.
And joining us today, welcome for the first time, very special guest, Erin O'Brien. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm Amy Adams Braces.
Okay, she was working those.
Oh, I took notes while watching the movie, and the thing I wrote down for that scene was like her makeup is crazy. Like they obviously tried to make her look like she was crying, but she just has like red eyes, like too blushed, and braces all at once.
I'm going to be honest. I took the most notes of the entire movie during this entire Amy Adams section. I cannot wait to get into it about what is happening with any of it there.
Michael Sheen is here.
Yeah.
They're watching.
Okay.
What is that show where they're singing?
Their show,
my God.
hold on, wait. I wrote it down. It's called,
It's a choir. It's something choir.
it's like Where in the World is Kelly or something.
Or this one of these shows where people would just sing and that was the whole show?
This is the type
Oh,
of
has
shit.
anyone here seen Kelly?
That's
Kelly.
When we were watching this last night, Lee was like, God, Ernest, I'm so glad your family isn't white.
yeah, sitting on daddy's lap in front of the old tube.
I was like, you're lost because this is exactly what I do when I go home for Christmas.
Yeah, you're getting ready.
Yeah, I'm so excited
So
tomorrow.
funny.
You're like, Papa, clear off space from that old knee.
Daddy, it's the Jeopardy song.
People don't do shit like that for fun anymore, huh? Singing along with the television.
We used to be a country.
Yeah, this is what Donald's trying to bring back.
We're so excited to welcome you to the
Thank
WBAM
you.
Familia, Erin. We have been planning this. We were just chatting before recording about a year and a half in the making. We are finally at the last, I should say second to last episode of the series. And yeah, I originally sent you the list when we were planning the series before we started. And now 18 months later, we've arrived. Originally, this was going to be the final episode of the series, but little scheduling switch up. We're actually going to be ending with Minority Report right before the end of the year. But it's Christmas time. Yeah. We're recording this 2 days before Christmas Eve. And it fits the vibe. It's Catch Me If You Can. It's a Steven Spielberg movie. And was this your first selection, or was this one of your second picks? I can't remember.
I know for a fact this was maybe my second pick because I very aggressively asked for That Thing You Do.
Oh, okay.
You were like, somebody already chose that. It was somebody else's first pick, like immediately. And I had just watched Catch Me If You Can maybe 3 months prior and was really taken by it. So I threw that up on there, and here we are. And I'm really glad that this is the one that I ended up choosing, or you chose for me. I probably would not have picked a Cruise movie. He's not one of my guys, and but I don't mean that in like a malicious way. I literally watched Eyes Wide Shut for the first time a week or so ago.
You can mean it in a malicious
no,
way.
here's the thing.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I don't care.
You don't care for his acting. You just like him as a person. You just want to like hang
As a
out with the guy.
leader of
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah, that's more the mantra that you ascribe
Truly,
to.
like I am kind of a Cruise skeptic. Other than like I've seen him in a couple things and he's been fine. I would say the skeptic part of being like the public persona. I know he's done a lot of good things for movies, but there are other things that I'm a little bit like, you sure about that? So
Scary
guy.
Yeah,
very scary man. Yeah.
This is Steven Spielberg's reunion with Tom Hanks after Saving Private Ryan, which we covered. A great film. And I was kind of shocked to find out revisiting this movie. And I've seen this movie many times, but I don't know why. I thought that Tom Hanks was in this movie more. He's very much just like in the supporting seat here behind Leo. Leo owns this movie. And there are long stretches, we'll get into it, but Tom Hanks kind of just disappears from this movie, which it's interesting to compare it to That Thing You Do, because acting wise, that's a very similar comparison there, where he his character disappears from that film as well. Obviously he wrote and directed that one. That's a little bit different. Feel free to give thoughts on that film and just Tom Hanks overall. So give us your Hanks thoughts.
I'm going to say specifically for That Thing You Do, I think it's insane that Tom Hanks is the man that wrote the line of dialogue, "When was the last time you were decently kissed?" I think that is like a beautiful, romantic, just like a little bit hammy, like line of dialogue at the end of that movie. And I think about it all the time. And then I go, oh my God, Tom Hanks wrote that? I guess. I don't know.
He's a sweetheart.
Exactly. I don't have like a huge like relationship with Hanks either, which is like kind of crazy. Like as somebody that like likes movies, like it's sort of like, oh, good for him. Likable guy. This makes me sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But like it's not the reason that I chose Catch Me If You Can is like the movie, the genre, and the Spielberg. And like that's what kind of like attracted me to this.
Well, it's also just a great movie. I feel like divorce from the series or
did you have to say it like that? You just triggered Steven Spielberg all over again.
So Merry Christmas. We
I
have
do want to
presents
talk
to
about
open.
that. I have a lot to say about the Tom Hanks as dad number 2 in this movie.
Yeah. It's almost like Steven Steele. He's still working through some stuff. Well, I was thinking a lot about The Fabelmans.
Of
while watching
course,
this movie.
of course.
The tie-ins are strong.
Unlocks so much of this movie. We actually do have presents. So quick interlude here.
Yeah, go for it. It's so exciting.
Drew has wrapped some presents for Hunter and I. We're gonna open them on pod right now.
I got them from an outdoor thrift market in Tallahassee, Florida, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Been holding on to these things.
Okay.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Drew. Merry Christmas.
Cost less than you'd think.
You know what? I like most people to preface the gifts that they give me with that.
You gotta do the ASMR, Hunter.
Let's fucking go. So I'm very happy. Drew gave me one of the defining series of television history, season 1 of 24 on DVD.
What a gift.
Stay tuned for our Kiefer Sutherland series coming up next.
Funny.
It's just going to be only hosted by me.
Yeah, Hunter famously pro torture.
Yeah.
Mine is the what is it called? There is a specific name for this trilogy. Oh yeah, it says it on here. The Israel 177 trilogy by M. Night Shyamalan, featuring Glass, Split, and Unbreakable on Blu-ray.
Wow.
Very nice. I have Unbreakable on DVD, so this is a nice upgrade. Thank you.
Wow.
The other films, maybe well, it's nice to have them.
Oh,
You're
okay.
welcome.
Yeah.
You don't need to say anything. It's okay.
You know what, Drew? Thank you so much for this. I can't wait to
Are we gonna do
watch all of 24 all
Yeah.
over again with wife of the pod. She's gonna love that.
Are we gonna
experience.
do a 24 episode by episode?
Yeah, we should probably- I
That's
think-
what we're pivoting
I think
to.
in the year 2025, that's how we're going to stay off the government's radar. Is like we have to go through and like defend Jack Bauer's actions and his take on
That's a great idea.
foreign.
Merry
foreign
Christmas, Drew.
peoples.
Thank you. Merry
Cheers,
Christmas,
cheers.
Aaron.
Merry Christmas.
to you.
My gift to you guys is Christmas cookies. Please eat them directly into the microphone. Like I want
Crunch,
you to
crunch.
Oh, I'm
chew
way ahead
right
of
up
you.
in
What,
there.
what kind of cookies are they? Like what type of Christmas cookies?
Here's the thing: we got a selection.
Big,
Thank you so
big
much for
variety
asking.
pack.
Every year, me, my grandma, my mom, me, my sister, we get a big old squad and we make Christmas cookies together.
I love
we got
that.
we make there's some peanut butter kisses cookies in there. There's some butterscotch
Classic.
guys,
Wow.
some dark chocolate with mint kisses ones,
That's classy.
rum balls, date bars, sugar cookies, the works.
I love that.
Let me be like the judge of these.
I hope that you're like, ew, these are disgusting.
Oh wait, these are the same ones you do every year. These I have my my favorites.
There's some slight changes.
Okay, what are the
We take some
changes?
things out. We put some new ones in. So I guess now in a public forum is as good of a time to get it off my chest as ever. I think chocolate and mint sucks together. I think thin mints suck. I hate Andes mints. I think chocolate mint is bad. It's like I don't like putting ranch on my ice cream. Like I don't think that we should mix these things. So we did unfortunately put a chocolate and mint thing in the mix. I got overruled, but
That's what I'm
where
eating
at.
right now because I love it.
The one with
I
the
like
Hershey
chocolate
Kiss.
mint.
okay, thank you. Okay, I feel
No, I said
feel
I
seen.
do like it.
Oh,
I
well,
love a mint.
I
I
feel
love a
alone on
mint
an island
chip
again.
ice cream. Like I think that's like one of the nicest flavors of ice cream. But I do think in the holiday season, chocolate mint is a little bit overplayed. I would rather like a warm spice cookie or like something like my family makes pecan crescents, which are exactly what they sound like.
Yeah.
And
Bangin'.
something that is very like warm and cozy rather than like mint. I think there are other flavors of the holidays, you know?
Northerners know their savories when it comes to injecting some savory into the sweets. I think us Southerners, we go a little bit too overboard with the sweets. So you need to balance it out a little bit more.
I'm also a big fan of like a citrus dessert. And like citrus is in season during the holidays. So like any chance I get to like do something like that makes me happy.
Lemon tart, key lime pie all year round. We
Oh,
rock
yeah.
with key lime pie.
That's very Southern.
I've never had a tart that I don't like, I think. Anything like
Sure.
fruity, citrusy, love that. That's what I'm into.
What about that tart that Leo's mom is giving the FBI agents and Catch Me If You Can?
She
That's
given a
Sarah
couple
Lee,
different
right?
tarts to her, you know what I'm saying?
I think that it was probably okay.
If it's Sarah Lee, it's probably just
It's probably like,
just
wow,
fine.
that's pretty good. You serve it with coffee or tea and your guests are like, wow, that's kind of them. And they don't really think about the complexity.
People ate absolute dog shit back then.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that was probably the best thing you could ever
And
have.
we don't now.
Well, I do. I
No,
will say-
they would eat like ham legs like in gelatin or some shit like that. You know
That
what
is
I mean?
true. We are right around that time of like put everything in Jello, everything. And listen, I love a Waldorf salad as much as the next guy. Is that what it is? No, what's the one that's the Jello? It's green Jello.
I know what you're talking
Pistachio.
about.
It's not that.
It's not
I don't think
Waldorf.
it's Waldorf.
Shit.
It was also the nascent beginnings of consumer packaged goods being just
It's
like
true.
everywhere, which would be the Sarah Lee of it all, you know?
The 60s. It's the 60s.
The red dye 40 was pulsating through everybody's blood.
That's why they were all acting crazy in this movie.
Yeah, okay, RFK Jr.
No, I'm kidding.
All right,
Yeah,
so
it's because they were vaxxed.
yeah, right. Polio
Too
just
soon.
ravaging.
According to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Can we kill Aaron Rodgers?
Hey,
Once
brother.
and for all.
Oh my God. It's almost like I've been saying it this
Were
for
the
the last
Jets around
15
this
years.
area?
I've wanted to kill Aaron Rodgers for my entire life. So just welcome to the club is all that I
Yeah.
can say, guys.
Vindicated on that.
Yeah.
one.
Feels right.
Still waiting on.
Can't wait for 24 when everybody's just like, man, most important. Who needs the wire when we have 24, right? So that
So,
it's coming.
Catch Me If You Can, Tom Hanks.
Sure
Let's set the stage here. So, like I said, we're rounding out the series here. It's kind of weird that this is the final Hanks movie we're covering.
So I wanted to say that because it is, but also it makes a lot of sense that like
He switches into a different mode.
Right. This
Yeah.
movie comes out the same year as Road to Perdition, which is Sam Mendes' follow-up to American Beauty, which wins the Oscar and everything else. But I like that we're doing Catch Me If You Can and not Road to Perdition, even though this is a smaller role. One, it is Hank's kind of moving into that whole like I just want to be like second or third billing and be that supporting guy who kind of owns a couple of scenes. I'm gonna do a terrible accent.
Oh my God.
That you cannot place where
Knock,
the fuck
knock.
Knock, knock.
I really thought he was trying to do Boston, but then I was apparently it's Chicago.
Oh,
It's
that makes
Chicago?
sense.
Yeah.
It's Chicago?
That's
I
not
heard
a Chicago
Boston
accent.
the whole time. Chicago accent is Joan Cusack. Like
Oh.
that's this was heavy Boston in my opinion.
This is crazy. What's funny is I
God damn.
was reminded of like last time I watched this movie was probably like 5 or 6 years ago, and I tweeted like, you know how Michael Jordan couldn't really shoot threes? What I'm saying is it's okay that Tom Hanks can't do accents. Like,
Why does he choose it? So this is not a real character. Like this is an amalgamation of FBI.
he can
agents.
just
And
be
he
a
was
guy.
Like, he was like, no, I'm gonna do a voice for this.
You know, I did watch
It's a
Elvis
choice.
this year and oh boy. Speaking of accent.
And he's great in that.
Sure.
Okay. Listen, I saw Elvis once with no air conditioning in the middle of a hurricane, and that is a memory that lives in amber, and I will never sully that viewing experience.
Sully.
Does he do a voice in Sully?
I don't know, but he just reprised the role on SNL last night, and he was
What?
definitely doing a voice then.
Yeah, he did Sully. I didn't
goes
watch
Sully?
it.
Yeah. SNL popped off last night. They had like 12 famous people on. It was crazy.
They're really pulling out all the stops for the 50th, I guess.
It seemed like they were kind of, but last night was the first one where I really felt like they actually did. They had Paul Rudd was basically the co-host.
A cast member?
Yeah, a cast member.
Cute. Okay.
Melissa McCarthy, obviously Dana Carvey is just like on the show.
Harvey's just like, just a cast member again. He's just there and
But yeah, they had Tom on a couple.
Didn't they induct Martin Short into the Five Drummers Club?
That's what it was.
Yeah, so then you're gonna get Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, Alec Baldwin, they keep throwing that guy a bone every
They
chance.
They can't. It's honestly like, oh my God. I love 30 Rock as much as the next person. That was my identity for so fucking long. But we can't keep giving him chances. We just can't.
Honestly, and it's truly infuriating because like James Austin Johnson is doing very well on SNL.
Yeah.
If he had been allowed to do Trump this entire time, he would be like a household name right now.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
His Trump is what got him SNL,
Yeah.
and then they never let him do it. It's a fucking travesty.
Hey, he has a really good little scene in Complete Unknown.
Really?
Yeah, he's the club MC.
You're right. He is. I totally forgot that he was
Yeah.
in the movie.
That
for
scene
him.
is so fucking good. Or I don't know if the embargo's up on a Complete Unknown, right?
Yeah. You just want to get your complete unknown thoughts out here?
I really was shocked how much I enjoyed A Complete Unknown.
Wow.
It was so good. And AJJ, yeah, he gets a little bit there. Timmy season coming in hot.
I will say, to tie this back to Catch Me If You Can, like it is, Timmy fully has the Leo mantle now.
Right.
I think that
He
he
kinda
grabbed that
does,
where it's,
yeah.
he is really trying to be very careful. And like at this point, he is making very, very particular choices about who he is willing to work with. Like even somebody like James Mangold, he's just like, oh, cool. Like I could be the next Joaquin Phoenix and walk the line. Like I want to go ahead and try and do Bob Dylan, who's like kind of an impossible person to play in the movie.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it. Timmy might be the best
think he's gonna
actor
win.
performance of the year.
Let's fucking go.
I think he's
guys.
going to be the youngest person to ever win Best Actor.
Timmy does everything right, and he has been doing it for years. And I've loved
agree.
watching this media cycle. Every single sect of the media slowly realizing that he's cool and he can kick it.
Yeah.
Because I've been saying
Lisa Al-Gaib.
I've been saying this for ages.
Mhm.
He's a cool little kid. He also doesn't do blow, so hopefully he doesn't end up looking like Leo.
Well, hopefully he doesn't become an alcoholic, so his face doesn't get big.
They go hand in hand. Trust me.
Erin, are you excited for A Complete Unknown?
I'm not. I actually like until people started saying, "Hey, this is actually like pretty good." I had no interest in seeing it at all.
Are you not
I'm
a Bob Dylan
I'm not a Bob Dylan.
person?
I just
Literally,
saw a
literally,
biopic.
who likes Bob Dylan?
Stop.
I hate to say it. He is one of the most important musicians of all time,
That you don't give a shit about.
and his music is not good to listen to. It is poetic. It is brilliantly written. It sounds like shit.
I disagree for 2 of his albums. Unfortunately, he's made approximately 180 albums, so that is working against him. But
Yeah.
I will say I've been a big Chalamet defender, like over the, he falls in and out of fashion, but I think like when he's cast a certain way, like I think he's so good in Lady Bird, and I think that the directors who like
Facts.
get what he can be or who he can be, whether it's like more transformative or something like that, where he's playing more grounded, I think really help him knock it out of the park. Also, one of the Club Chalamet tweets that I have screenshotted from the past couple days is somebody saying like Club Chalamet's like a poster of a bygone era or whatever. She's sincerely insane. And she quote tweeted it and said, "Thanks, but dear, I'm not insane."
Drew, I always thought this was you. I was shocked to find out that that Club Chalamet wasn't you.
Yeah, it did cost a lot of money to find someone who would take the fall for all my posting. But
"Thanks, but dear, I'm not insane" is like
That's really
it's
good.
automatically iconic.
that's incredible.
I can't wait for her to see the film.
Yeah. There's a lot of screen grabs you can grab based on A Complete Unknown. But it was a thing to tie this back to Catch Me If You Can. The whole time I was watching it, I was like, we get very precious about a lot of movies that we cover in this series, where it's like, just
Sure.
don't touch this, don't sequelize this, leave this as it is, as it was meant to be. Catch Me If You Can, I think that they could remake this movie like every 15 years
And
with
that
just
would
a
be
new group.
Kind of cool.
And what if you did this? Now Timmy is like almost getting a little bit too old, but like a couple years ago, you do Timmy in
He's
the Leo
still-
role and you do Leo in the Frank role.
Timmy is also
Right there, it's passing the baton.
It doesn't have to
Newest
be
Star
it
is
doesn't have to
born.
be checks, you can do a con, just do a different con man running from the law.
Timmy is very passable as like a wee boy. It would almost be hard. He's harder to pass off as an adult a lot of the time.
I
'cause
think-
he's so frail.
I will say A Complete Unknown is a good step in that direction of like, he's not just playing like boyish roles anymore. He's like-
Okay, cool.
man.
yeah.
Call me by your name. That rocks to hear. I'm so happy for Timmy. Yeah, I had that
exciting.
thought a lot, that it would definitely be Timmy, and then Leo would be the one who knocks.
Knock, knock.
You want to hear a joke?
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, what is this accent like?
When I saw like in doing research that he was trying to channel Chicago, I was like, no, he wasn't. He like scrambled.
Somebody reminded him on set, "You're supposed to be from Chicago," and he goes, "Well, I'm locked in, so
So
locked into this accent."
So to set the movie up a little bit, it's based on a true story. The real guy is also named Frank Abagnale. According to him, so we'll get into this. I don't know at what point, but apparently it is highly disputed at this point that this actually happened.
Wait, you're telling me that the lifetime con man might have lied a little bit in his autobiography about himself? What?
Right. So Catch Me If You Can is the book that he wrote about himself. It was published in 1980, and essentially right away the talk of a film adaptation started. This movie doesn't come out until 2002. So that is essentially 22 years of back and forth in Hollywood to try to get to a point where we're actually rolling and have a finished product.
By the way, early to mid 80s, Young Cruise would have knocked it out of the park.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
someone who really, I was not well versed in Young Cruise before this series, that he had
Just post Risky Business.
the
you
exact
put him in
juice
there.
he had was like a man who's very confident, but also like desperately seeking affirmation.
It didn't really
Oh.
gain traction until the 90s, though. That's when it really started to pick up. And at that point, I don't think you get cruise. At that point, you get Leo. I mean, Titanic had been out by 97, and that's kind of right around that time.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, he's in his 20s when he makes this, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because he's a baby boy in Titanic.
Yeah.
Essentially, Spielberg is kind of the one who actually starts to get the project really rolling. He buys the rights as part of DreamWorks, and the movie essentially goes through 4 or 5 different directors with Spielberg attached as producer through DreamWorks the whole time. And so you start with Gore Verbinski.
Well,
who then
actually,
drops
crazy.
off.
Actually, before that, Fincher is attached originally.
That would
Fincher.
slap.
I
That would
actually
slap.
think
A very different movie.
there's
would
a
have
couple
happened.
different like what ifs in the making of this. I'm like, is that a better movie? Actually?
The Cameron Crowe version, no way.
No, Cameron Crowe was another one. Fincher was one.
Milos
lost it.
Forman.
I think Gore Verbinski would be really cool.
Yeah.
Like that would be really, really interesting to see that version of it.
For those who don't know, he made the Pirates of the Caribbean.
He's made
And The
more just
Ring.
Pirates movies and The Ring.
Oh,
He's
The
made,
Ring.
He's made some bangers. The best version of that though, I think that this is the Verbinski take that like actually some people signed on that it was going to be Verbinski directing, Leo in the starring role, and then in the Frank role, Gandolfini.
Tony
who-
Soprano himself.
I think James
Ooh.
Gandolfini makes this movie a better movie than Tom Hanks in that role.
Oh man,
That's tough.
that would have been intense. That's so fun.
I think it-
Wow.
I think it brings
Holy
like such a
shit.
fun element to it of like Gandolfini chasing him down because there's something
Hey.
that feels like
Hey, knock, knock, madon.
That sucked.
yeah, you think he's gonna still do the same accent work?
That was half-hearted. I could do better than that. That's tough. I won't try right
He's
now.
hard to do because you really just have to sound like a very congested, large Italian.
Yeah,
That's all he is.
right.
And
And we don't know who this guy was in real life. I don't think his
Sure.
name was Carl Hanratty. I think that's an
Mhm.
invention of whoever the real FBI. They
Mhm.
It's like an amalgamation of people from what I was able to see. It's
That's
it's a
cool.
few different guys that they kind of consolidate together because there isn't like a true like this is where you get the Spielberg of it all. Where Spielberg is like, how can I find like the chosen dad to come in here to actually like shepherd this lost child in the way I was never shepherded.
It's a character that feels like it was because it's an amalgamation, it's created for almost like a literary purpose in that way to be like, how
Right.
can I bring like this pathos to the story through this character that we created that's an amalgam of other people. And definitely like even Frank Sr. doesn't really see through his son, but Hanratty sees through his son. And like how that's, I don't know, whatever that symbolizes is really compelling to me.
Well, that definitely ties into the Fabelmans comparisons,
Yeah.
which I definitely want to get into.
Yeah,
but just to tie a bow on the pre-production, essentially what happens is Spielberg decides that he has to be the one to make it after the project sort of goes through this revolving door of directors. It loses Ed Harris as well, who was cast in the Walken role. And someone else was cast in the Amy Adams role, which that one had to be a big search. She was basically discovered for this film.
Wow. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, and that had to be a big thing. But the thing that fascinates me about like the ramp up to this movie actually happening is that Spielberg is in this mode right now. He won his Oscar, 2 Oscars now at this point after Saving Private Ryan. He has DreamWorks, and it's this moment where he can kind of do anything. So he has this plethora of options and he can't do them all. He has to try to pick and choose. And what he chooses is extremely fascinating. I mean, obviously we're going to cover Minority Report. We're going to continue this thread in that episode, but he was also attached to Memoirs of a Geisha and Big Fish, 2 projects that he
Ooh.
decides not to move forward with to make Catch Me If You Can.
So Big Fish would make sense for him.
Yeah.
It will make a lot of sense. But this is the right move.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it's him just like, I don't know what to do now. Like I'm a little bit lost. And you can kind of tell that just with like his movies that he has after this. Minority Report comes out the same exact year as this.
Yeah, it's the Spielberg special.
The Spielberg special.
It's the
two
double.
movies very like polar opposite from each other. But this, and then he's like, all right, do I want to do more of like the Ridley Scott sci-fi thing of like a War of the Worlds? Do I want to stay in like the very like authorly kind of like maybe like snappy family movies like Catch Me If You Can? Do I want to do something that is more like historical, like Munich? Like he's just kind of wearing all of these different hats because, you know, what do you do when you've kind of already done everything?
And it's interesting, you know, we're all around the same age, you know, born in the mid 90s, and you know, we're kind of missing this peak here and kind of coming into our movie watching era a little bit after this. So, you know, like I mentioned during our Saving Private Ryan episode, that was kind of the movie that I was fixated on, the Spielberg movie that I was really fixated on. But the Spielberg movie that I saw the first in the theater, I think, was War of the Worlds.
That's what I think that
I
War of the
think
Worlds is
that-
my first one as well.
I think that may have been the same.
Yes.
I'm gonna look at the filmography.
Because that's
To see if
2005.
that's-
Yeah,
That would make sense.
I know I did not see Catch Me If You Can in the theaters. It's not like my family was taking me out to go see The Terminal in theaters. So I think that was
yeah.
probably
That's a grandma movie.
maybe it was
Dude,
maybe like I saw a
my-
re-release of
My
Jurassic
grandma
Park or-
was obsessed
Yeah.
with the Terminal.
yeah.
That is
Grandparents
so
loved The
funny.
Terminal.
I would say definitely. I have like a vivid memory of seeing the Spielberg War of the Worlds. There's like an image in it that I think about all the time because it's like my nightmare, which is all of the cars stuck on the freeway and like
Classic.
Hey, don't come down to Orlando. You'll see that every day on I-4.
No, but like in a catastrophe scenario, just like everybody trying to run and not being able to move, like that stuck with me for a very long time. And like
trying to
it's
get on the
something
boat.
oh my God, it's something I haven't rewatched because I'm like, I think it would be too hard. I know it's a beautiful movie, I've heard, but it would be too hard. Like,
It's kind of one of those movies where it loses its way as it goes on. It's incredible on the come up. Like the first half of it, I think, is phenomenal, and then the second half, I think, is a little janky.
Some might say the same for the source material of War of the Worlds.
True. Also got to shout out Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I think
I've seen
I
that, yeah.
also saw in the theater.
oh yeah.
And I was so excited.
I'm gonna
for
be
it.
honest. I think that might have been my first Indiana Jones movie that I ever saw. Maybe I saw
Probably,
Raiders, and then I
yeah.
saw that, and I was like, "These movies suck. What are people talking?" It was like whenever I saw the prequels, like before I like
Star
really
Wars.
knew
Yeah.
Star Wars, and like I loved Revenge of the Sith, but that was like, man. Attack of the Clones is really boring. Are these all just like boring movies about space Senate, or what's happening right now about taxes?
Oh my God.
Well, Stevie, he enters a weird period here is kind of what we're dancing around. You know, he ends up making Tintin and War Horse.
Yeah.
And then I feel like he kind of has a bounce back with Lincoln and Bridge of Spies, but then you get BFG, The Post, and Ready Player
And
One.
his masterpiece.
I don't
Ready
know. I
Player
kind of like
One.
the post.
Post heads rise up.
I kind of like. I remember like seeing that in the theater and being so thrilled and being like, "Why is this movie about the post so thrilling?"
Newspapers are important.
just like the printing, and then Zach Woods and Jesse Plemons are there, and you're like, "Whoa, this is drama!" Like I don't know. I just remember being so thrilled by the post.
Here's the thing: The Post, another terrible Hanks accent. Like I don't know what the fuck he is doing with his accent in that one too. There's a through line of horrible Hanks accents that we have going.
You know,
on there.
it's kind of funny because the one thing that his son Chet Hanks is really good at is
His accent.
is a certain accent.
Does accent work?
And he's really bad at everything else.
Question for you: Where are you at on the 2018 masterpiece Ready Player One?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, it's get ready for
Don't see it.
a top
Don't worry.
one Spielberg movie.
You're
Some
lying.
might
I
say
know
the
you're-
greatest.
Hunter was a staunch defender of that movie. I don't even know if he still is anymore. I did not care for that.
Got to
movie.
keep the bit going.
I don't know what. I've never done a bit in my life. I don't know what you're
Okay.
talking
It's
about.
okay. I am no stranger to doubling down on movies that people are like, "Well, it was just okay."
But now Spielberg is on a heater with West Side Story, The Fabelmans, and what is tentatively called The Dish, his upcoming movie.
Mm.
So I think if you look at 21st century Spielberg, it's kind of overall a bit of a mixed bag. And Catch Me If You Can, I think, has to be like at the top of the list of if you would call 21st century Spielberg like modern Spielberg.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
have the spectacle of, his classic, his like Mount Rushmore movies, but it's one of those movies that has gained like a very like universal acclaim with people of all ages over the years, where like, like it goes so hard on Letterboxd. Like it's one of the most like reviewed movies of his, because it's just one of those like, hey, what movie's really good? Catch Me If You Can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this movie.
It's a vaguely Christmas movie, which I think has actually
Yeah.
helped. It helps the legs of something like this. It's like, oh, I can watch
It's
it
just
like around the
talking about this.
holidays.
Yeah.
It's the vibe.
Yeah, it's Christmassy. And we haven't even gotten into it to Walken yet, who I really I love Ed Harris, but Walken is irreplaceable.
So
really fun.
essentially the first I was trying to clock the time codes because we start with Hanks. It's a little bit unusual for Spielberg to kind of jump around in the timeline and go a little non-linear, but we start towards the end with Hanks picking up Leo now in prison, essentially letting you know that he is caught. And we get that nice what do you call that? Prelude of the game show.
Mhm.
What's the name of this game
Oh,
show?
I love the game show.
To tell the truth.
Mhm. A real game show that actually exists and Frank Abagnale was on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so there's actual. Okay, so
Yeah,
Leo is probably like doing some beat for beat reenaction.
Yeah,
of real
it's
footage.
like a very faithful reenactment of
It's a
that.
really
Interesting.
nice stylistic
Mhm.
choice to start with that, and then hard cut.
classy. Yeah.
Really nice.
And so essentially, we get this little bit of Hanks to kind of guide us in. I mean, audiences already knew Leo at this point, but just the double movie star plus Spielberg of just the buy-in. You kind of have to start with that. It's a great choice.
He's decided to tell us the end in the beginning.
Yeah.
Which
again, I don't think Spielberg usually does.
no, but it is a very confident filmmaker move. Like
Yeah.
it's like, listen, you're still going to want to watch this. Don't worry.
Unless you
Mhm.
count, historical stuff like Schindler's List or Saving Private Ryan, where obviously, and this I guess counts as well since it's based on a true story. But yeah, the first, I want to say, hour of the movie, maybe you get these tiny little bits of Hanks every 20 minutes for basically one scene, and then you're back to Leo. But this is a 2.5 hour movie. The first hour, you're just focused on Leo's I don't want to say upbringing, but kind of coming of age into starting this idea of becoming a con man.
Well,
it's an
do we-
incredibly patient movie.
When do we first see him getting out of the French prison, though?
That's how the movie starts.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
super early.
yeah, that's like the first scene.
Yeah, and then we get into him like being a child who's like way too into his parents being in love.
Listen, but here's the thing.
Oh.
That goes back to Walken. Just Walken's so fucking suave.
Mhm.
He is
Yeah.
so cool. He also like from the get-go, you're like, this guy's like a bullshitter, like he's full of shit. But because you are seeing it through Leo's eyes, and classic Spielberg way of like putting it like you are seeing from the eyes of the child, he just looks like the coolest guy in the world. And then a scene later, you're like, oh, he's like trying to get like loans, and he very
Yeah.
clearly is like selling shit, like selling their car and selling their house because he can't keep up with the bullshit anymore.
Erin, I'm really curious what you think about the Fableman's comp here, because don't you think that the way Leo is playing the character here is kind of like Spielberg sort of
really
pushing him
is.
in that direction of like, really think about it, man. Your parents are about to get divorced. You're savoring these moments of them being happy, aren't you?
Yeah, it really there's something with the lighting of this movie that I noticed this time, where it has this sort of like blown out, diffused, everybody's kind of a little like soft touch, and it really gives this feeling of like you remembering a childhood memory. Like it kind of gives that throughout. So when they're retelling the story of like how they met, it feels like, yeah, you've heard it before. It's like your parents tell you the same stories over and over and over, and it has the same kind of effect of like you're recalling something from, you know, your childhood or something super formative.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
It also
Yeah.
like no, like obviously Spielberg was always attached to this as a producer, so it was always going to have some of this spin. But any other director who like takes this script and like makes passes on it is not making it about the family falling apart.
Mhm.
Like that's not like the nexus of what made Frank Abagnale do all this stuff in real life.
But
like,
it does give this sort of like, I don't know, like emotional justification for certain things about this character that is so Spielberg to me, to be like, whether it's like about divorce or like in something like, I don't know, fucking Jurassic Park, like making it like, giving it an emotional core in a movie that may not like need a really strong emotional core. I don't know. I really like that. I think it's super well done, even though we're like, haha, Spielberg's divorce.
Yeah, it's just, it's
Well, we're saying that now,
It's-
but in
yeah.
2002, I don't think that people were really thinking
No,
about
no one.
No.
No, his story was never that publicized, especially now that it's just been fully portrayed.
Now it's Fabelmans.
Yeah, verbatim,
Yeah.
like on screen. But like, and then even things that weren't in Fabelmans, but you know, have come to light. Especially, you know, he's opened up a lot more in the 21st century about his life and like his early filmmaking career. He thought he was a con man. He thought that he was just like faking his way through everything.
So good.
Yeah, like he just like snuck into
Man,
an
that's
office.
a whole other layer to this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and he's just. I think that first him in real life, Steven, like he was like, "Why isn't anyone stopping me? Like, where's Papa to
Mhm.
stop me?"
So do you think he ever wore like a pilot hat just to be like, I'm a, you know, look at me, I'm an official. You should trust me. You should love me.
Do you
He
guys?
definitely tried his hand at being a doctor
I
before taking up director.
I do.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you guys. How often do you get turned away when you ask pilots for autographs? Because they're starting to not give them to me now.
Oh yeah,
It
is that you
really-
always do this at the airport?
Yeah, or like
Please,
whenever I
sir.
just see one like walking down the street when they're full regalia, I'm like, sir, where you going now?
And you're like, he's like, I fly for Southwest. Please just get out of my face, child.
Yeah, asking a Frontier pilot for their autograph.
Now it's CEOs, and for some reason I can't get close to a
Yeah.
CEO to get a simple autograph.
You can't even like shoot a CEO anymore without being a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm.
I know I used to be a piece of shit. I don't give a rat's ass.
And see, now I'm glad that he did. He fired up the board for this one.
Yeah, that's
sure
a
about
good.
that.
It is just it speaks a lot toward the like nostalgia angle of the movie, and it's just how Frank sees the world. Like when he first sees that pilot, things go into slow motion. You know, when he's like, oh my God. And like the kids are running up and like he's like tipping his hat to everyone. Like, I'm sure some amount of this was true. It used to be a much more, you know, prestigious
Yeah, in the
profession.
late 50s.
I
Yeah.
think Pan Am
Mhm.
specifically.
He is, but he is drawing, you know, he's drawing a lot of attention to the fact that like this is to him what like success looks like, is like being authority, is being revered and loved for having authority. And also it's the pinstripes that distract everyone.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, the Yankees.
yeah, so it's serving a double
Great.
purpose for our Leo. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's
As-
what I gotta do.
As a New York adjacent resident, Aaron, how true is this Yankees thing?
The pinstripes
I
thing?
don't know. I don't follow sports. I genuinely don't know, but it always made me laugh in this movie. Whatever.
You don't go to ball games.
This is
all the time.
I went to fireworks night to see the Mets last summer, I would say 2023, which is exactly what it sounds like. They do a game and then there's fireworks.
See, that
Well,
sounds great.
That sounds lovely. Honestly, that sounds much more exciting than actually watching a baseball game. So
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that. I mean, you know, I actually think that's a great line about like it's all about the pinstripes. It's the same
Yeah.
thing as like whenever it's the basically the same general idea of like the magic trick is like look at my mouth, don't look at my hands.
Yeah,
is what-
sleight of hand. Yeah. Exactly. It's and he learns it from his pa, who's like a little piece of shit.
Oh, with the gold necklace.
Oh,
It's a great
it's
move.
so good.
How many like real shitheads in 2002 like that do you think like tried to do that move after seeing this movie?
Give it a shot.
Yeah, they at least
Drop
tried it once.
this.
It was his 16th birthday, right? In the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It feels like now you're a man, I'm going to teach you how to scam people. And it's like there's something really like dark and funny about the way that that's executed. There's like a shot of them from a low angle where it feels like, oh, you're in on the joke. You're overhearing it, you know, eavesdropping. Man, that sequence.
Here's the thing. We all just want to do things like we all just kind of want to be a little bit more like our dad so that he'll give us more love and attention, right?
And
Is that how you guys feel? Huh? It's not just me.
And to the like authority aspect and the love and attention, right? Is like when he assumes the role of the substitute teacher and you see like it feels like you're seeing a character like step into the role that they're supposed to play and he becomes a different guy. And it's like, I don't know, this man was never meant to be around people his own age. You know what I mean? Like he is meant to be in this like status or thinks he should be in this status, but feels like he has to scam his way into it. And like
this kid is better at being like anyone that's not himself.
Yes. Hence the running and the planes and all that.
Exactly. Like
Leo is so amazing in this movie.
Yeah.
This
oh my God,
I need to take a step back and maybe we can have this conversation at some point in this episode, but like where does this rank on the Leo like power rankings? Because this has a shot at top 5 for me. I'd have to kind of
5, but I've never seen Titanic, so I don't think I'm allowed to say. I don't think I'm allowed to have an opinion.
Please watch Titanic. You will love it so much. I guarantee you.
I'm sure I would.
It is the best. Make a night of it.
That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Screen, crank up the sound.
That'll go down as like that's like one of the most charismatic performances ever. That
has to be number one.
It's literally a movie that he makes that movie. He does that performance, and it's like, all right, who do you want to work with now? Like you have free reign to do literally whatever you want. Like,
I guess we can do this now.
From this point forward, he becomes like Spielberg's boy a little bit, but really like he takes the Scorsese mantle from
Do I
Bobby
have
Hero.
a Leo list on Letterboxd? I do. It's called LDC.
Of course you do.
It's called LDC.
Anytime that you've ever asked the question, do I have a Letterboxd list for this? The answer is already
okay.
yes.
So it looks like the last time I edited this list was 4 months ago. So fairly recently. I have number 1, Wolf of Wall Street. Number 2, Titanic. Number 3, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 4, Killers of the Flower Moon. Number 5, Django. Number 6, Catch Me If You Can.
I actually think Once Upon a Time might be a little bit too high. And here's the reason, because he is incredible Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but that's like, he's more of a supporting role in that movie.
It's more of a Brad.
Yeah. I mean, he is fucking phenomenal in that movie. He's so good in Killers of the Flower Moon, man. He's so phenomenal.
Also,
in that movie.
A really like a conversation that I don't think we should like fully have, but like in terms of just like mind-bogglingly like good performance, he's crazy in Gilbert Grape.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. He is. It's one of the things. It's like one of the most difficult things that you can possibly do as an actor is thread that needle.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like I don't know if I can talk about like the ethics of that performance, but like he is.
It's a Jack type.
Yeah, but
scenario.
he is so good. Like it's really
a Rain Man, if you will,
for like a child to be that effective in that role.
Question: where did you have Django on your list?
5.
Where did you have J. Edgar on your list?
12, 29.
Where did you have Roosevelt?
That's actually number 0. That's above every. I don't know if you know the lore, Erin, of the
and why would she?
The unmade movie about Teddy Roosevelt, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. That is definitely not going to be an unmade film any minute now.
I don't know.
I'm checking the clock.
We were like a couple years ago. We were drafting movies for the upcoming year that we wanted on like our team. And I took Roosevelt, which it turns out doesn't exist. I didn't know that.
It wasn't a couple years ago. It was last year. And you're like, did you guys know Martin Scorsese has another movie aside from Killers of the Flower Moon coming out called Roosevelt? And I was like, no, he does not.
I was a kid and I got tricked by the internet. and I learned a lot that day.
So
I do think that Leo is the thing is that with Leo is that he is such a floor raiser to your movies. Like I think that in a movie like Great Gatsby, that movie is one of the most disappointing movie experiences that I've ever had. Like going to the theater whenever it came out, one of the greatest books ever made. And he is an unbelievably perfect Jay Gatsby and was like an otherwise like mids to bad movie. Don't Look Up, a movie that I detest. I really hate that movie.
He's good.
I
He is
just
phenomenal.
don't like Adam McKay.
I agree with you. I think Adam McKay
Sorry.
should. I miss when Adam McKay just made silly little comedies and didn't try to like say something about the state of the world.
Beat you with a baseball bat? You don't like when he treats you like you're fucking stupid and beats you with a baseball bat?
Yeah. Don't Look Up. I hate that movie. That is the worst movie of 2021.
So what are some other Leo takes, Erin? Like, do you feel strongly about Inception, The Departed?
I haven't seen The Departed. I've seen Shutter Island. I've seen Inception. I don't remember much about them because I know for a fact I fell asleep during Inception. Are you
still asleep right now?
Exactly. Obviously, like Killers of the Flower Moon. I think he is like. So I think when an actor can play like a piece of shit guy so well that it's like you feel it, like that's. I think he's incredible.
And he's like a different type of like he's not.
He's a dummy.
Yeah, he's not a slick one. He's like a gross, a nasty dude. And I love it.
I'm very endeared to Catch Me If You Can, and I think that it's a performance that has a lot of nuance to it. And I'm like looking right now. I don't have a ranking like you. I also love Wolf of Wall Street. So shout out to Wolf of Wall Street. And for the sensationalism, let's say Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo and I was gonna say we got to give some flowers to Romeo and Juliet.
Flowers for that.
It is like as a
Leo is like a whole thing that was in the 90s.
Well, yeah, and like he's a fucking kid delivering like true like iconic performances.
Good.
Yeah,
so
he was out of his fucking mind like from the out of the gate. He was so.
I mean, there are so many scenes in this movie where, you know, on the surface they're an extremely simple setup. The thing that's coming to mind right now is the moment where he's with his mom finding out that she's cheating on his dad with the Rotary Club guy. There are so many moments. I think a lot of that scene is kind of just one take. Obviously Spielberg is doing his magic and he's kind of making you feel like it's one take. I'd have to look back at it and see if it actually is, but I just remember this extended shot where the camera's just hanging there and Leo's sitting on the couch looking off into the distance and his mom is in the kitchen behind him, and I don't think he says a single word in that entire, and she's the one with all the dialogue, and he only comes in at the very end right before he slams the door and says, "I thought you were going to quit," as he takes the cigarette out of her mouth. I don't really think he has much dialogue other than that, but I was watching his face and his body movement, and I just kept thinking like, man, you could give this to any actor and they could do it. And I'm sure they would do a good job. But the way he's doing it and the way he's sort of carrying this disappointment and rage and desire to break out of this life all in one, I was kind of blown away by just a simple little scene like that.
Yeah,
and there's so many. It's a movie.
He has to. It's a complete like full spectrum of emotion and like and also like intensity of emotion in this movie. He has to deliver all of it at varying points. The scene where it's a really big like leap of faith for the audience scene when the scene where he becomes the substitute teacher.
So good
because we also have to believe that that he could credibly pass.
And you do.
You do.
He pulls a School of Rock.
You also like because of the legwork that's been done. It doesn't feel insane that he's doing this necessarily, even if it is crazy. But that scene reeks to me of like something you would see nowadays, like in a TikTok, and it's like a digital looking Netflix movie, and it's like the worst acting you've ever seen in your life. Yes. You know what I mean? Because it's such like a premise. It's such like a premise heavy scene. It's almost like a Dar Man video.
He was like
this bully learned a lesson about who to pick on. You know what I mean? It's like a LinkedIn story where it's like that
Oh my
man's
God.
name, the substitute teacher. Like, but it works so well because he's fucking delivering. I said while we were watching this, what would you genuinely do if you had a kid and you got called into the principal's office and they were like, your kid is being the teacher, and
he has been
yeah
for like a week.
I would
like
be
2
I
weeks.
would be so fucking scared of my kid.
No, I would be so proud.
That's like
I'd be like-
psycho behavior.
I would be like, kid, you're doing great. I would be the Walken.
That's the Mobley method.
Yeah.
Erin, what would you do?
I think that there's like, I mean, in reality, probably mortified, but at the same time, I think it's like, wow, this kid has some kind of skill that like I am not privy to in my day to day, and like
He's different.
just be floored by like
yeah.
honestly.
I'd be like, hey, you know what?
He's planning a field trip.
We're gonna put you in acting classes.
Yeah.
We have to
little
find some
guy.
way to positively harness this energy that you have.
Yes, because otherwise it's gonna be used for evil.
I will say, probably the parents should take him out of that school immediately because that kid is getting his ass beat the very next day by that bully for like embarrassing him in the class, posing as a substitute teacher. And then he just decides he doesn't go back to school.
He runs
So,
away.
You know,
Smart kid.
that's one way to do it. Yeah.
Smart kiddo.
So I have a question. I know like cell phones didn't exist, the internet didn't exist. So like if you were just like passable as like an adult in like the 50s and early 60s, they're like, yeah, go for it.
We'll cash your check, man.
Sure.
I was thinking about this because I recently went through like an extensive background check to be able to start a job, and you know, things like my diploma or like every name of every boss I've had in the last 7 years, where like you would not be, there's too many footprints now with the digital stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I guess you're right. In the 50s and 60s, if you had a convincing persona and a pair of scissors, you can do anything you want.
It's like the closest you can get is just like I lie on my resume, but even that shit is like people have gotten good enough that they can usually like figure it out now at this point.
Yeah, what a drag this world we live in.
I just like, I don't know.
So fucked up.
I feel like there's so many ways. Obviously, you can see him getting better throughout the movie, and that's one thing that I really like without like fully like hammering on it, having like montages of him like getting better paper and
Yeah, but
ink
you
that
see
he's
him
using.
you see him fail a couple times.
You see him
Yeah.
fail, and you can see him like that the craft is getting better, not through Leo, but through the Tom Hanks character. That's just like, oh my
Getting
God.
closer.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
just
he
well,
did
and
it, yeah.
at the end, it's just like this is a real check. Like he isn't even forging this anymore. Like this is real.
And
There-
at the end, it's also the bar exam where he's like, "How did you do it? How did you do it?" And he goes, "Well, I just studied." Like
Yeah,
that being
he's
the
a
only
genius.
honest thing he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You mean the bar?
chilling. The bar
bar-
exam.
the
How'd you
bar-
pass the bar?
How'd you pass the bags there?
Knock knock. Yeah, exactly. Like there's an element of like maybe he just is a genius. Like maybe he's just a like at a certain point.
he would have been successful in like literally anything that he did in life, and he just chose to be a
Yeah.
con man.
Yeah. Well, and this all speaks toward like it's often lost to time that like the con in con man stands for confidence. Like it's
Oh.
yeah, it's really just that's all it ever was.
Facts.
Like, and that's why it was like literally, almost a profession back then. Is just like being someone who's good at
Yeah.
not lying to people.
And they just let you get away with it.
Yeah,
They're
I'm
like,
a
well,
con-
if
I'm
you're
a-
good enough.
I'm a con man.
I'm also obsessed with the tells that he is a kid that he has throughout the movie, like asking for milk on the plane.
Yeah.
And then when they kind of like are slowly figuring out he's stealing names from like The Flash or
Barry
like,
Allen.
James Bond, Mr. Fleming, when he's getting fitted for a suit. And like there's no denying like that's a kid. And it's, I don't know, I think that those are like very funny and also like humanistic touches to be like, oh, there's a person here. There's
And-
a person learning from pop culture to be a doctor and a lawyer. Like there's a kid here that is like
Yeah, he's just
something is not
watching
being met
shows.
for him. Yeah.
And I think that's the
Mimicking.
one thing that like, because I don't know, I think that Hanks is like pretty good in this movie, but I don't think that Hanks is amazing. Like this is
He's
like
solid.
he's very serviceable. And I think the one thing that Hanks does well, which is the Hanks Spielberg combo, is of like, I see a lost child in here. Like I'm not coming at you. Like obviously you are a criminal and you have to pay for this and everything, but like
I care about you as a
I
person.
do want to be a father figure for you, and however I can. You're calling me on Christmas because you have no one else to call.
Oh,
Like you, that's how you.
He
that's
was
the
so
reason why you're
heartbreaking.
coming
He was
to me.
laughing his ass off in that scene.
Yeah.
He was- You're alone.
as the camera pans out to reveal that he is also alone.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Tough.
Yeah, it's just,
Merry Christmas.
It's a freelance dad and a freelance son.
Yeah.
Finding each other. It's lovely.
It's beautiful.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Honestly, like there are so many aspects of this movie that I feel like under a different director could be extremely bogged down and tedious, because it's a very long movie that stretches many, many, many years. And even under Spielberg, like you do feel it, especially towards the end. You're like, okay, like
it's
let's get
funny
it.
because like speaking toward like, you know, most of the time you wouldn't say that, oh, this would be better as a show, but this actually would be.
Yes.
And that show is
100%.
called Suits on USA Network.
Is it?
Hey, you know, it's kind of about a guy.
They're cons?
He's pretending to be a lawyer.
Oh, I did not know
Is
that.
that
I
what
didn't know that.
the plot of
no.
Suits is? Wow.
Yeah.
You see, they're bringing it back.
God,
But
I
guess
really
what?
always
He
wondered.
passed the bar on his own because he's a genius.
The thing is that like I never wanted to watch Suits because like I was just worried that characters would be unwelcome. there
No,
on
this is the
Suits.
common misconception. It was on the USA Network, and they ended up making it so their slogan was actually "Characters Welcome" for people like you.
See, I was always worried that characters that they weren't allowed. They weren't welcome.
No, there's a whole section of shows where characters, if you watch it, you're like, they welcomed any and all.
Wow,
characters.
man, and this is my.
Yeah.
And now I feel
Well,
like I
now you
missed
know.
out.
Psych, Monk,
Throwing on Monk right after this.
Royal Pains.
Okay.
So yeah, he. What were we even talking about?
I think the point you were making about Hanks,
Okay, well,
this
no.
being lesser Hanks.
No. So I was saying though that like it's funny because this movie, like you said, it could get bogged down. They left out a ton of shit that Frank Abagnale
In the book.
also said that he did, which it turns out was not really true. But like this was probably a really tough script to write because it is so clearly like goes beyond a 2-hour time limit.
Do you know what other like things he made up that didn't
Yes.
get the cut in the movie?
Yeah, he.
Tell us.
Let me see.
Did you pull this from the wiki? Because there's a whole section called historical accuracy where there was a 2017 interview that Abagnale gave.
So he claims he claimed that he was a sociology professor at BYU at one point.
That was not true.
No, that was not true. There's a lot more in here.
Well, I think that the separation is what things did he say in the book that didn't happen versus what
Right.
things were not included in the movie that did happen, and now we know that maybe they didn't.
Yeah, no, that's a whole other. That's most of it. Like he was a check forger, and you know he got arrested a couple of times, but
Apparently, in 1978, several journalists debunked his claim that he passed. the
yeah,
basic bar exam,
there's a
which
whole
is a real bummer. I really
It is a
wanted him to
bummer.
pass the bar.
There's a whole subset
bar.
of people who
bar.
really hate Frank and like dedicated a lot of time to debunking him.
That rocks, honestly. Being
yeah,
a
so-
hater, being a hater pays off.
I just have to say,
Right.
like being a con man and then getting away with it for years to then work for the government and then make a fake story about your life that then gets bought for millions of dollars again, like perpetuating the con is so cool.
Yeah, so
like
one
that's some rock star.
So,
shit right
I'm
there.
all for Spielberg changing shit though.
oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't
Makes for a good
honestly-
movie.
I do not care about movies trying to like recreate real life events. Real life is usually boring.
No, I think like from a screenwriting perspective, you need to like infuse a story, like a real story with some sort of like structure and catharsis and characterization that like may not actually be there. And like this does it very well because we have to make assumptions about Frank Abagnale.
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 Don't call him Abagnale.
I was trying to remember what the N was in his name. You have to make those assumptions because this person is a liar. You know what I mean? And so to kind of give it some shape and structure and characterization in a way that like may be a little farther from the truth. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like when movies do that kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, you might as well. Like
It's a story. You're telling a story. Yeah.
him publishing, this autobiography as truth gives them all the rope that they need, to make this thing. They're like, if he says it's true, we're allowed to use it in the fucking movie. As it turns out, they didn't even get to include the BYU thing. He was never a professor. He was never a fake doctor. That wasn't true. He was never a fake lawyer either. I think also made up for the movie, again, to Spielberg's credit, is the entire love story that was infused there, where like
Amy Adams.
he's a doctor, meets Amy Adams, and then becomes a lawyer because her dad's a lawyer.
So can we talk about that? Because if you're talking about a part of the movie that drags, this whole section of the movie, I think, is like,
You could trim it up a good bit.
I think Amy Adams isn't very good in this, and I don't think it's Amy Adams' fault.
Yeah, she's playing like a dumb child.
Her character, she's like a child. She's you pointed out earlier, Erin,
The braces.
the insane makeup choices that are happening on here with the braces.
I love Amy Adams. Night bitch herself.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
you actually wish that Leo was the age he said he was when he married
you
her.
preferred that he's actually
Does she
a 30-year-old.
discover
piece of
that
fucking shit.
she like committed a crime by like marrying him?
Oh no!
Is that what's going on?
This entire sequence is insane. This
He's a
family
minor.
is fucked. Like this family is so beyond fucked that I would not stay anywhere close to them. So for one, he is like, I don't know, supposed to be in his 30s, and she is maybe 18, maybe, we're hoping. Background.
Listen, man, this is
Amy
background.
Adams-
This is Georgia in the fucking 60s,
okay.
brother.
It's New Orleans. And where her family's from, at least.
The Louisiana
New Orleans. But background also to this. So Amy Adams is raped by her father's friend and has an abortion because of it.
Yeah.
And then her family disowns her because of the abortion that she had from it. And so then she brings home a 30-year-old, a man who's like over 10 years older than her. And they're like, thank God you finally found a good man in your life.
Who's clearly lying
about
his life.
Stay far fucking away from this family. This podunk.
Well, I agree. I mean, this section of the movie is really weird. Like, just the vibes are super off. It's
weird that this is the part that was made up, because this almost feels like the part that you were trying to recreate. That is a real thing that happened.
They made it make sense for his motivation as a character, where he was like, so you're saying that I can rebuild your family by just marrying you? Okay, so I guess I'll do that because it's not happening with mine. So they make it like structurally pass, but it just, I don't know. It feels off. It feels weird. I don't like watching it.
Her sitting on her dad when daddy's like, come on, sit on my knee, as they're watching Has anyone here seen Kelly?
Erin, thoughts on this whole Martin Sheen, Amy Adams section?
When I was making my notes for the outline and I saw Run P, I was like, it's this section. It's somewhere here.
Anywhere in the Martin.
I don't want you to miss them singing, but like, honestly, I do have a couple, like, I'll give some compliments to different parts of the section. One is when he tells the mouse story as Grace. I think that
as a prayer.
That is dark.
Funny.
That is like, I don't know. It's like becoming your father and telling fucked up stories and scamming even in the smallest interactions. And I actually think it's really clever when they are watching Where the Hell is Kelly or whatever it's called, where you watch Leo watch them singing, realize it's repeating, try to sing along with it on a slight delay as he's like trying to mimic the way he mimics everything else. And I think that that's like such a smart like direction for him to go in this. I don't know. It kind of gave me chills, like to be like, you're watching the microcosm happen.
Mm-hmm. And you're watching him like realize that he's not really in this family.
Yeah. Well, like he's
exactly.
conned his way to be a doctor and to be a fucking pilot, but now he's trying to con his way into being like a human being.
person.
Yeah.
Well, what I was kind of thinking in this area, this part of his character arc is that because this movie rarely deviates from Leo, I don't think, obviously there are moments where we're just with Hanks, but those are so brief that you feel like you're kind of in the seat with Leo the whole time. The entire first half of the movie, the divorce with the parents is happening in the background. That's never really brought into the forefront. We're
And we
only
didn't really talk about the second he is supposed to sign the papers, he runs, and like
Yep.
that is like just like the story, his sort of like motivation happening like immediately is just, I'm going to run from this, I don't want to acknowledge this, and like that is happening in the background, but it is sort of like the like aha moment, I guess.
Yeah,
So
and
then-
the check forging essentially starts immediately
Right there. Yeah.
after that scene is when he tries to cash his first fake check. And then when we're in this Martin Sheen section, it's no longer in the background. He is the foreground, and it doesn't feel right. He's trying to be a part of this family. He's trying to make an effort to make this relationship, this family, a meaningful part of his life. And maybe there is a part of him that is genuinely trying. And we do get one of my favorite parts in the movie around here, where he has that Christmas call with Hanks and tells him to stop, that he wants it to be over.
I just wrote down every single, like transcribed the dialogue as I was listening to it, because the exchange is so good, where it's I'll Be Home for Christmas is playing, which is, I don't know, that's the two of them every Christmas. And I don't know, just like he begs him to stop chasing, and he's like, well, it's my job.
Right.
And then he goes, I love my job. At the end of it.
Job.
Job. I wrote JAWB. I love my job.
There is probably a big part of Frank of Leo that really does want to be a part of this family, but every beat of it, every inch of an attempt to further this is just it's unsuccessful. And from an audience perspective, we're sitting there watching it. Obviously, we're bumping against this sequence because it feels janky. But I feel like the intention is to have it feel janky, for you to not feel at home, for you to also be bumping against the idea of him spending time with these people.
I guess because I agree, like there's a reason it feels that way. I think the reason that you could use it as a ding against this movie is that it also is coming like late second act, beginning third act of a long movie.
Yeah. And there's still so much to go.
Yeah. And so and you can sense that. You're like, well, clearly it's not ending here.
Yeah.
So we've got to keep moving.
The payoff is so good. The moment where the FBI storms the wedding and he has to escape, that is like one of my favorite parts in the whole movie.
Also insane Leo acting in that, in terms of like, you see this character who is usually so smooth under duress, absolutely just like no facade, absolute crumble. And like, I have in my notes that like this woman somehow like broke his walls down so that under this scrutiny of innocence, where she's like, so you're not Lutheran? He is just like
that's
a shambles of a man.
That's really funny.
Where
That's a
like
great
there
moment.
is this like pure like feeling, whether it's like her or the family that he never had, that like really gets to him in an emotional way that like we don't see for any other part of that movie. So I think it's really special to like end that act that way.
I think that Leo is very good in all this, and I really love everything that Martin Sheen is doing. Like as the dad, I really like
President Bartlett.
I think a lot of it comes down to Amy Adams. That like you see Leo in this movie, who is like remarkable in every single way. Like he is something that like he can do it all. He can have anybody he wants, and I think that's something about the Amy Adams character that's just like her. Like that's where we're going with. Like maybe it is something where like
That's kind of the point.
Well, but maybe it's like I want more of like a Rockwell family, like things like that, where it is like, oh, the true American dream here. But there just is something that's a little bit underwhelming about it, and maybe that is like a choice that is made.
Yeah,
in this, that
well,
it's with Amy Adams, I think particular, that I'm like, I don't know if I really get it.
They cast the most like fawn like child they could that could pass as
But
like
so's Leo, I think.
Exactly.
It's two kids when you really get to it.
Yeah,
you know?
she has to be like so vulnerable and childlike for him to be able to rescue her. You know what I mean? When he himself is like hanging on by a fucking thread psychologically. So, I mean, I agree with you generally speaking. Like the vibe of it is super off. I mean, it also like is frustrating as a viewer because this gets him caught, and it's really, really predictable
You
that
just
it would
want to see him get away.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Hank says it at one point. He's like, "Well, he can't change his name now. Like,
Yeah.
he's got to go. Like, he's stuck as this guy now. We're gonna circle in on him."
That sequence of the "Come Fly Away" sequence is absolutely incredible as well.
Yeah. Speaking of like A+ moments, we skipped over a lot of this movie. I wanted to shout out their first face to face.
Oh, that might be the best scene of the
it's so iconic. And it
in the hotel room.
Yeah, and again, it's a big leap of faith for the audience, because you're like, am I about to think that Hanks's character is the stupidest motherfucker on earth?
Oh my God. I have that as, I think, favorite scene.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Like,
it's
I love
unreal.
it so much.
It is so unreal, because you know what's happening, you know what's coming. Because of where we're at in the movie, you know he's gonna get away, but you're still like, there's no way he's gonna fucking get away, and there's no way I'm gonna believe it. But
Or
you do end up
You
believing
weren't even
it.
expecting it to actually be him coming out of the bathroom. You're like, oh, this is a scene that I've seen in movies before where somebody comes out of the
He's
bathroom. It's like
gone.
the cleaning lady comes out. He's already long gone. But so early on in the movie, it's like they know who this guy is. Like they have a picture of his face. But again, because this is the 50s, or I guess the mid 60s at this point, there aren't cameras. So it's just like, I don't know. He's like a guy in his like a teenager, early 20s guy with brown hair who's like 5'8", and it's like, oh cool, so is like most of America, so good luck with that. Trying to find this fucking guy now.
It's the cat and mouse of it all, you know what I mean? Like, it's does one want to get caught? Maybe.
Exactly.
And
Like every time that Tom actually catches Jerry, sometimes he ends up letting him go, like, on his own volition. Yeah, because they need each other.
This is exactly what the plot of the Lego Batman movie is.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I had in my notes like Frank Jr. acts like a fellow agent, and it goes exactly the same as a substitute teacher scene, basically. And like when he hands him the wallet, it's an allusion to, like, you know, he wants to continue the chase, he wants to be caught, but like watching Hanks rip everything out of the wallet, oh my God, and it'd be like, God damn it.
Great character little bit. The first time you ever see Leo, he's just like picking at something, and then just like that little callback that you have, what is it, like 45 minutes into the movie, is just a thing, like a little like tick that he has. Great.
Again, this is another scene that like you would see in like a super digital Netflix movie, and it would suck.
Yeah.
And in this, it is so perfectly orchestrated. It's paced right.
Again,
I mean, throughout this entire movie, the way that Spielberg is framing and staging his shots is just like fucking stupendous. That's
God.
So many.
It's no shock.
So many.
Of course.
So many.
But I've noticed he's a master of like having in one set, having people move from one spot to another for no reason. Just in order to reset the camera and like get different dynamics. It happens so many different times in this. It happens when Frank Jr. goes to see Frank Sr. at the bar. They have a little back and forth at the bar where, you know, the angles are favoring Sr. And then they go to a booth where things are more even-handed.
Yeah.
There's another part where when he first meets Amy Adams and she's at the desk and she has to find a file and she wheels over to another area. No other director would do this because there's no fucking reason. Like, especially nowadays, it would just, you know, if you're making like a cheaper movie, they'd be like, okay, well, there's no point in resetting everything.
Close up.
Just to move 5 feet. But he takes the time because it changes the way it feels.
To add on to that, I also like, I feel this way not just about Catch Me If You Can, but like I noticed it while rewatching Jaws this summer, where like the way that Spielberg directs dialogue is extremely natural, in the same way that, like you were saying, like the movement within the scene is very natural. It feels very like you're listening into a conversation. There's a couple moments in Catch Me If You Can that feel like dialogue if you get it, but like that's so meaningful when they do like lean into that, I guess. And then as for like shot framing and stuff, both the really low angle that we see when we're like kind of like in on the bit, it's him and his dad before they go into the bank, and then at the wedding or engagement party, whichever it is, where it's like, ooh, you know, he's going to be up to that scamming and we're in on it. And then there's a lot of like these like really above, almost like omniscient kind of like framings as well. That like to me, half idea feels like, you know, he's almost like watching himself in third person as he's living his life as other people.
I think a great
That's you know, that's so great.
a great mix of like what you're talking about and what you were talking about is the engagement party that's happening itself.
Yes.
And like
A little bit of both, yeah.
it is Hanks chasing Tom looking down at him like he is in the power position. And guess where is he gonna go? He has to jump out the window. He has to go back down, and now Hanks is back in the power position. Like it is that dynamic that you are seeing here, which is that's why Spielberg is like the fucking GOAT, is that he is saying so much, he is communicating so much to the audience without actually ever verbalizing any of what
so much
it's kind of
staging, framing, So
it's kind of a lost art of staging.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we don't
Or
really
like
see
shot
that
reverse
these
shot
days.
reverse shot.
too much.
And this was always Spielberg's magic trick is he approaches it as if it's like a 40s movie where like the staging is everything because you're not moving those fucking cameras. But now he has the ability to move the cameras too. And so what you get is just about like a ballet in every scene. Like everything is moving. Like
the
like,
close up of the guns when they're searching the house.
It's just like, holy shit, man. It's like the fucking Spurs, the Spurs defense in like peak Spurs, where it's like they would all every analyst would be like, it's like they're moving on a string. Like it's all moving together.
Everything that you are watching there is just moving in harmony.
There's a dolly shot where it's in that house too, the Miami or Atlanta compound that he has, where the camera's just dollying across the pool, and it's focused on people walking across on the other side of the pool, but on the foreground you're seeing people sitting down in front of the camera in the foreground, blurred out, and it's so seamless as it's tracking across. People keep sitting down, and it feels like nothing. It's just like he's just throwing it away like it's nothing.
That's the thing, is that like nobody has ever called Spielberg like an athletic filmmaker. Like he's not like fucking Inarritu, where it's like the camera has to be another character in the story that you're going on the adventure with it. Even Scorsese, Scorsese's a genius. I'm not gonna besmirch his name, but like when you are watching a Scorsese like long take, there's a purposeful like flow to what he's doing. There's so much organicness to everything that Spielberg does in all of his movies, but this especially, like at this point in 2002, he is a master. He has done fucking everything that the world can see, and he's just like playing around at this point.
We got to talk about the end before we jump into the categories. So essentially it catches up to where we started with the prison. Gotta shout out the sequence in France where he actually gets caught.
Where Leo's manic as hell.
So good.
Love to watch him being
Merry
like,
Christmas.
Well, you see, Jack, I don't think there's anyone out there.
Welcome. Flying everywhere, yelling about how they always talk on Christmas.
Yeah.
He's like masked Jim Carrey.
The choir outside. Tom Hanks is extremely good in this scene. This might be like the best scene,
the best Hanks.
So good.
That he's in, because you kind of believe him. You know, you enter the scene with just Hanks just walking in. You don't see anybody else, and then you bookend the scene with him just walking out.
They'll kill you. They'll kill you, Jack.
If I'm not mistaken, all of the Christmas songs in the France sequence are like biblical. It's not like we get the American ones in the US, and I'll talk about that when we get to it. But like, I think it's O Gloria. And
it's very
like,
Catholic.
It's the prodigal son. Is that the phrase? Prodigal son. You know, where he's like, "I was really good, Carl." Like, so I don't know. It feels that feels intentional to me.
It rocks. Well, and also the caroling going from like diegetic to non-diegetic, because it
rocks.
The singing just keeps going, like even as like a car chase.
They're just standing there.
Yeah, like the singing just keeps happening. So they're not singing that no more. It really rocks. It's just like a little. Spielberg is a king of just like making obvious moves that other people miss. You know, like that's just a great move.
Here's the question though. There are still 20 more minutes of movie after this.
I think longer. I think it's like closer to 30. Am I wrong? Or did you have time codes?
I think you're right.
So here's the thing. It does feel
it's like 30.
Like there's a lot left.
Yeah. How do we feel about that? Because I love the last chunk of this movie as we see Abagnale like get kind of swallowed up into this machine of the government and start serving them and helping them. I don't know if it needed to be this long. I think there's a version that could get trimmed up.
We get a couple really nice sequences, including the final scam, which I think is like he wants to help but on his own terms. Like that's kind of how I read it. I think it could have been shorter, but I also think like
I love that.
I don't know. It all feels so intentional. And
Yeah,
like
I think it's an excellent little twist to put on there that is, obviously never happened, but like if it's like his new dad being like, all right, you can stay out late this weekend.
I'll allow it.
Yeah.
also the reveal that Hanratty is like, yeah, she was 4 when I left. Like that he was lying the whole time too.
That was
And like
11 years ago or
oh
whatever.
my God.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I love little character things like that like inform everything that you've seen
Absolutely.
prior. Yeah.
Mhm.
We tell ourselves like the truths that we want to believe.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's one of the core themes of the movie is
Yeah,
lying.
sometimes it's
lying
easier
and-
living the lie was one of the lines.
It is.
Yeah.
I think that you're right. I think that this is generally what stops this movie from being like a stone cold masterpiece in a lot of people's eyes is I think that the end is just not quite as steady as the beginning and middle.
Yeah.
Because, like it's intentional, but like the feel of the whole like Amy Adams sequence is really weird. And then it just kind of goes on. But like I'm not cutting out, for example, but even before all this, I'm not cutting out the sting at the airport. That's fucking awesome.
Oh, that's so good.
It's so funny. It's way over the top, I think, for him to gather up like a million stewardesses.
It is funny. They really yada yada the how that happens of it. He's just like, yeah, I'm back to doing the Pan Am thing. We're doing a thing where, we just have to gather 8 women and we're going to just go to Europe together for 2 months.
Yeah, it's
no reason.
It's very quick.
So funny.
It doesn't really make sense, but that's just the Leo charm at it again.
Well, I also, generally speaking, I think a lot of directors like this. Why Spielberg is genius for making this about like a broken family is because a lot of directors would make this about a guy who can get whatever he wants, and so he gets a bunch of girls. You know what I mean? Like he literally has the authority to like gather up whatever stewardess he wants on Earth.
Yeah.
But that's not what the movie's about. It's really smart.
And it's paid off throughout the whole movie that he can do that.
But yeah, that sequence rocks. Where he pays the kid to park outside with a Hanratty sign. Excellent.
I love
Excellent.
that.
That's
I love that.
Incredible.
And then the
I love
plane in
that.
the background lifting off.
Yeah.
So cool.
Such a
So
shot.
good.
Yeah.
Spielberg.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I can't
Come fly away. Yeah.
I can't get rid of any of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I agree with you that like I really like the very end. Like I like everything we see of him working there. So I don't know what I'm cutting. I think that this is just kind of the natural flow of the story leads you this way.
I think you could just trim it up a little bit when they're in the FBI office.
Yeah. I also think one of the, just threading the needle on the family thing, having him go home to his old house where like his mom is remarried.
That's
and
really
the
good.
Christmas
It's a great
song
moment.
just plays all over it.
Mhm.
I think, and the fact that Hanks knows he's going to be there. Oh, so good.
That rocks. I think that another issue is a lot of this just feels a little rushed compared to the rest of the movie because like he jumps out of the airplane and starts running and then pulls up running at the house.
Do you think
he does the Tom Cruise run?
Is that one of the things? Do you think that that's one of
Sprinted all
the
the way
things
there.
that actually happened?
Yeah, no,
That one was historically accurate.
that one's real.
That
I
he
mean-
just sprinted off the runway.
He sprinted approximately 80 miles.
Yeah, with like 5 GTA stars.
Oh yeah, because as soon as you step onto
the helicopters are like shooting at him.
5.
No, hey, there's no TSA back then.
Yeah.
Listen,
No,
they're
it's
like,
fine.
No carry on.
This is,
Wait, do you guys, can I change the subject when you said TSA for a second? Do you guys know about the Love Actually backflip scene?
No.
Wait, what?
What is this?
Oh my
The
God.
movie Love
This,
Actually.
I
Yes.
just watched a big chunk of that the other day on cable, but no.
Okay. Well, you don't know it because it was cut out of the movie.
Oh, I heard about this.
It's that they like make a big deal about one of the kids like being a gymnast or like an aspiring gymnast. And so there's a like unfinished scene of the movie that you can find on YouTube where they give a little context, but then it's the kid running through the airport at the end, right? And at some pivotal moments he just like does flips or like jumps off of like a high platform and lands like perfect, but it's so clearly like an adult gymnast. It's one of the greatest things in the world. When you say no TSA, that's what I think of.
It's
Somebody
like
can just
Tom
do
Cruise.
flips in the fucking airport.
Just doing flips
It's
around.
Tom Cruise in The Firm.
That owns. There should have
That's
been
great.
Should have been more flipping in this one.
Man, Leo, step your fucking game up, okay? You'll be out there doing flips.
Oh my! I'm watching this right now. This is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find on Fandango at Home.
It's the little
YouTube
kid just
channel.
doing gymnastics to evade the stupid British TSA.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I mean, I don't know. He did a lot of lying, but he never claimed to be a gymnast. So
I'm curious. Was this one of the movies that was delayed because of 9/11? Speaking
Catch
of
Me If You
TSA.
Can?
Yeah,
Good question.
because
because of
so 2002 is like
airline
a
related.
stupid packed year, like with movies. 2002 is one of the great movie years of the last several years, or of the last 20 years. And a lot of that is because a lot of movies that were supposed to come out in September, October, November, December that year just got delayed because people were scared to go out to movie theaters. So 2002, I looked at it. This is a couple years ago. I was looking, or I think we were doing some movie for the pod and I was looking at, but this whole movie.
So I think it was always set for 02.
Yeah,
just from what I'm looking at now. But you're right. I mean, I'm sure they were very careful with how they were marketing it and
of the flight.
Yeah,
that whole part of this.
I mean, that's why the posters are just arrows. It's just an arrow in one direction, an arrow in the other way, and like a blur. The posters like didn't even have Leo and Hanks in the, or they had their names but their faces.
Generally speaking, graphic design I think was at its, like, people like to talk shit about the 90s. I think it was at its all-time low in the early 2000s to mid 2000s. Like these look up on Letterboxd, the main poster for War of the Worlds is the ugliest piece of shit
it's awful.
you've ever
Yeah,
seen.
it's
The
a really
burning
bad one.
earth.
And just like the text War of the Worlds, like,
yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's
that
because
sucks.
It's supposed to induce a sense of dread, Drew. Don't you know?
Yeah, it's inducing a sense of like DREDD.
Okay, so I had a couple stray thoughts
Go for it.
before we get to the category. So always want to read out the Roger Ebert blurb on Wikipedia. He was still alive in 2002 when this film came out, Christmas
He's still
2002.
kicking for a few more years here. It's not like at the end of his life.
When did he pass? It must have
09?
been
Or is that even
13.
13? That's what I was. Yeah, I was like, it's
So
here.
I mean, this movie was very well received. It did very well financially, which we'll get to in a second. But critically, it seemed like everybody loved it. This is what Ebert said. This is not a major Steven Spielberg film, although it is an effortlessly watchable one. And it looks like he gave it 3 out of 4. So he liked it. He was in with the pack.
Question, where's this at on your Spielberg list? I just had to pull up my rankings. I actually knocked it down a couple slots because I just saw Catch Me If You Can for the first time over COVID, and it really worked for me. And this time I had a couple more nits.
Is that right? I think this is a very consistently reliable film.
This is in my top 10 Spielberg. This is actually at number 10 right now on my list.
That's fair.
I mean, okay, I'm sorry. His top 5 is like Jurassic Park, E.T.,
Yeah, no
Jaws,
shit.
Raiders, Schindler's List. Like, okay, it shouldn't be offensive that he's at number 10.
One thing that really jumped out to me on this rewatch was John Williams' music.
Yes.
I really
Great score.
connected. What
Great
is that, like
score.
a clarinet or an oboe? Or
Yeah.
something?
Jazzy.
Especially because the early 2000s had some really bad like digital scores. You know what I mean? Anytime anyone tried to do something like a little more,
Williams never goes digital.
a lot of it, I mean, it helps that this is a period piece,
Right.
Because if this was set in the modern age and had a different director, it'd be drum and bass. It'd be like,
I have it at
That's
number
just
10.
Sonic Adventure music.
Hey, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Sonic 3 in theaters now. I have it number 10. I think I could easily knock it down. Not that much, it's still
No, number 10 is where I have it now. I had it at like 7, and I was like, is this higher than Close Encounters or The Fabelmans or Minority Report? Probably not.
I
Well,
might actually have to put The Fabelmans above this. Like,
Yeah.
we
Interesting.
keep mentioning it. I think it's still worthy. I would give this movie like 4.5, like 9 out of 10. Like, it's still
Oh,
up
yeah.
there for me. It's hard to judge it in the range of Spielberg because he has so many like 5-star, 6-star, like best of all time. But you can't deny this movie. It's
No.
incredibly well made.
Yeah.
On almost every front.
I did just want to say, because I finally found a good website that has movies released by year, because I thought that I wanted to make sure that I wasn't crazy. This is just December 2002, the movies that come out. Analyze that, Adaptation, Drumline, The Hot Chick, which was a big movie, About Schmidt, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, Antoine Fisher, 25th Hour, Gangs of New York, Wild Thornberrys movie, important movie for me, Catch Me If You Can, Chicago, which goes on to win Best
Holy
Picture,
shit.
The Hours, The Pianist, which wins Best Director. That's just December of 2002.
Wow.
Like
Stacked.
a lot of shit was getting released like right around
Now
this
we
time
got Mufasa,
Hey,
Sonic 3.
Hey, and to tie this all together, so because I actually do think I'm curious how much of this movie was the screenplay versus was the Spielberg of it all. The screenwriter, Jeff Nathanson, very odd filmography. If you look at it, it's something that almost makes me want to default to giving more credit to Spielberg. He does work with Spielberg again on every grandmother's favorite movie, The Terminal, a year later after this. He also apparently does the story of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Mm-hmm.
Such hits as Rush Hour 2 and 3. Everybody says that it only gets better, right?
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. I think that's like the 5th or 6th one.
Definitely exists.
And then he also, he wrote The Lion King.
2019.
And then Young Woman in the Sea, the movie that came out this year. And we all definitely saw.
Yeah, did it now.
And of course, Mufasa, The Lion King.
Mhm.
You know what?
So, he's back.
I have
we get
beef
more
with
Jeff
Mufasa.
Nathanson in our life.
I have beef with Mufasa because it's making it so I can't see Nosferatu in IMAX.
No,
That's fucked up.
Yep.
How can you be in the greater New York area and fucking
I'm gonna have
Mufasa
to
is taking
fucking
up IMAX
travel in.
screens?
I mean, I'm on Long
Bullshit.
Island. We have a couple of good IMAXs, but like, I know like our AMCs also have Dolby and Prime, so like there's a good chance I'll see it in a nice format. But Mufasa's taking all the IMAXs this
This is
next
fuck.
weekend,
New
which
York
I'm
City.
like very upset about. And I mean, I could go into the city, but it's the holidays. I'm with my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Try to catch it on film if you can.
Yeah.
There's some places showing it on 35.
Nice.
Yeah.
Our theater here is going to be showing it on 35.
Tower Heist. What the fuck?
Oh, did I
Oh.
skip past Tower? Oh my God,
Not
I'm
Tower
so
Heist.
sorry.
He wrote Zero Discourse classic Tower Heist. Someday we'll cover that, Colin, on our podcast, Zero Discourse.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Not so soon. Okay. Couple more data points to get out of the way before the categories.
Sweet.
$52 million budget, $352 million box office. It never hit number 1. It premiered number 2 behind Lord of the Rings, Two Towers.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Well, yeah. What are you gonna do?
But it stayed along throughout the holidays and racked up the dollars there. Oscars was nominated for Best Score, John Williams, and Christopher Walken,
Yeah, Walken.
Best Supporting Actor.
He does a lot of really subtle good work in this. So
He's excellent.
Nothing for Hanks, nothing for Leo.
What-
No,
Watching
nothing
him-
for Leo is stupid.
Yeah,
like
that's
so dumb.
Watching Walken become like a husk of a man is really effective.
yeah.
He's so good in this.
Yeah, well deserved.
I cannot fathom. Like, I love Ed Harris, but I just don't see him in this. Like, I don't like him. Like, I like him as an actor, but I don't like him naturally when I see him.
Maybe I buy Harris more as Leo's dad, but Walken is a better actor.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. I'm looking at because this is the Chicago year, which is funny that we talk about 2002 is like this incredible movie year, and then fucking Chicago wins Best Picture. But Michael Caine gets a nomination for The Quiet American,
Is that the winner of?
No.
Best
The
Supporting?
winner is Adrian Brody. Actually,
No, for supporting.
Is he doing?
for supporting
Who beats
actor is
Walken?
Chris Cooper adaptation.
Oh, okay.
Which-
I'm okay with that.
That's a great win.
That's a good
That's a
one.
really cool win. Honestly, really, really good supporting actor group this year. You get Chris Cooper wins, Ed Harris, who we just talked about in The Hours, Paul Newman in Road to Perdition, last great Paul Newman movie, John C. Reilly in Chicago, which, I'm just happy for our boy.
Yeah, you gotta give it up for your boys.
And then Walken, Catch Me If You Can. Best actor, Adrian Brody wins. He is the youngest person ever to win Best Actor.
Yeah.
Just again, a little
Which is-
fun factoid.
Why Timmy's gonna upset that, huh?
Yeah. Because Adrian Brody
Going
is-
up against the brutalist Adrian Brody
both of them
Ooh.
will be 29, but technically
by a few months.
Timmy
okay.
could beat him.
Crazy that Leo didn't beat that like 4 different times. By the way,
Right?
He took the Revenant.
he was stunningly good.
That's the weird
young
Oscar
actor.
thing that the Oscars love to give Best Actress to like a young starlet,
Ingenue,
like
yeah.
up and comer, ingenue. But then for men, they always want like, what's your body of work role? What's The Revenant?
Interesting. Yeah.
A movie that has literally no discourse
Well, yeah,
whatsoever aside from it got Leo and
it speaks more toward how they see women, honestly, where it's like,
Yes.
okay, so you're
Mhm.
really great, super
Youth.
young, and then here's your award. We'll see you when you're 60.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally, yeah. That's
We'll see.
that's unfortunately the story of Hollywood.
We'll see you when you're Meryl.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, Walken was kind of dominating that award season. He got the BAFTA.
Mhm.
Walken got the Screen Actors, the SAG. Critics' Choice Award gave Spielberg Best Director for this. So, the movie was in the running, in that mess.
Critics'
of-
Choice love to just give it to the big popcorn thing. John M. Chu winning Best Director this year for the film Wicked is a real thing that happened just this year by the Critics' Choice.
Still haven't seen it.
I like Wicked.
I
I
like
don't
Wicked
wanna see
too.
it.
I like
don't
Wicked.
wanna see it.
John Chu winning Best Director this year is deranged.
Yeah, that's
that is
crazy.
an insane choice.
And,
Apparently, there's a musical adaptation of Catch Me
Yes.
If You Can.
Yeah.
Which premiered in 2009. Not sure how well it did. It was nominated for a couple Tonys. I
think
don't think it
people
made
like
too
it.
much.
I think people like it. I'm not super well versed on musicals, but I think it's like a very semi-popular within the theater world. But I could be wrong.
Catch Me If You Can. My parents got divorced.
I think it's good.
Mommy, did you drop this gold chain? I'm gonna ride a plane, but I'm never gonna drive it.
All
I'm
right, keep
just
going.
gonna sit in the jump seat.
I'm not gonna stop him. I'm gonna
Holy
keep
shit!
him
There's a song titled "Butter Out of Cream."
going. Wow.
I just opened the musical numbers. I was like, what can I call out here?
Which mouse am I? Not the third or the fourth. I could keep going.
This is good.
I'm 2 wines.
You should start writing a musical. You should
The
make a
second
musical.
number is named "Pinstripes Are All That They Say."
Wow.
Are we the Yankees? Am I the Yankees?
I might have to like listen.
Write
to
this shit down. Write this down.
I'm forging checks. Am I a Yankee?
Oh my god.
It's crazy. I don't even need to go to Broadway anymore now.
Now will you cash it? I'm not a minor. I'm sure that whatever I just came up with is probably
That's probably.
just as good.
I think it's better.
I mean, the only thing you're missing is the ensemble behind you to harmonize.
I'm running out of steam here.
I was ready. I just got ready, and now
Oh,
too late.
God.
All right. Any other stray notes before categories? Or we'll probably hit them in the categories.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
probably hit them
probably.
in the categories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go ahead.
First category is Run P. What is the Run P moment brought to you by Run P, the app that tells you when to go pee during your favorite movies in theaters now? When will you go pee during Mufasa, The Lion King?
I think it's during the trailers and then you don't come back.
When will you go pee during Sonic the Hedgehog 3? A bleak time at the movies during this holiday
Yeah,
season.
no, I was talking about this before. I love going to the movie theater on Christmas. Like,
I think I'm going to see Wicked.
I really
I
love
think I'm going to do it.
doing that on Christmas. Like, you know what? That seems like a fun Christmas movie. I was trying to convince my wife to go see Nosferatu. I got a hard pass on Christmas
I love
Day
that they're
taking her to
putting
go see that.
Nosferatu.
Going the day after.
So
probably,
cool.
Yeah.
I was like, babe, it could be so fun. I don't know.
When
Yeah.
do you go pee during the 2002 film Catch Me If You Can? What is the run pee moment?
Is it the
Brought to you
first
by
time that we
Rugby.
meet Amy Adams? Can I just?
They're meet
I was gonna
cute.
say not the meet cute, but like maybe when he first meets their family, you might miss the him saying grace, but like somewhere in that vicinity where you're not getting any of the like big characterization, the big like moments. I think you gotta see the meet cute, you gotta see him barf at the hospital. But if you're squeamish, go when he's.
I was gonna
barfing in the
say I could
hospital.
even go right after the meet cute. I don't have to see them like Amy Adams using the most tongue that anyone has ever used, kissing another person, and then seeing
Sure.
like a bad broken leg.
Oof.
I could go during.
Here's the problem with this stretch is you're gonna want to pick something earlier rather than later because you don't want to miss the scene with Walken. Because that's interspliced in here is when he goes back to see his dad before he gets married.
Yeah,
you don't want to miss that. You're
you're
basically
right, you're
the
right.
cutoff is Amy Adams on President Bartlett's lap. That's kind of like your last chance.
Is that after he gets the blessing?
Yeah.
I think the blessing scene I could skip.
Yeah. I'm okay with missing any Martin Sheen. I get my Martin Sheen fix on West Wing. Like, just go pee. You're fine.
Go pee, go poo. There's time for a poo.
Yeah.
There
whatever
honestly
you
is
want.
time for a poop in here.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Run Pee.
That's right.
Where you can catch pee if you can.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, okay, well there you go.
I was reaching way. Yeah. I was gonna say.
I came up with that about 0.5 seconds before I said it. So
Wow.
you're welcome.
How does he do
This
it?
is just how my brain works.
Carl Hanrat P. Is that anything?
FBI agent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
God, the-
like when a joke like that is really heavy-handed. So
Hey,
Listen,
don't
the
worry.
well runneth over here for.
Don't worry about watching. Don't worry about watching Martin Sheen hit the head and get farting steam.
Mhm.
you know what? All right.
Come fly with me. Come fly with P.
Yeah.
Run P.
Mhm.
All right, we're running out of steam here.
Thanks to Run P for sponsoring this episode.
No. Yeah.
Next category is Tom swap. Could the other Tom do this? I think we touched on this. He would be better in the Leo role. I don't think Cruise fits with Mr. Carl Habernaffy.
No, he doesn't fit at all.
Hanratty.
But you know,
Hanratty.
very young Cruise. If there's anything I've learned in this series, is that very young Cruise would do excellent.
Yeah,
in the Leo.
I think
be
you would do.
amazing.
I think you would be amazing. And again, let's just make this movie every like 15 to 20 years. It could have been like Cruise and Paul Newman in this. If we had done it in the 80s, then we got this version. Now we'll have Timmy and Leo in there. Like we could just keep these good vibes going. Tom would not work for other Tom in this
No
movie
way.
because here's the thing: Tom Cruise would just simply catch him. He would run after him.
Yeah,
He's too fast. He would just sprint down after him.
genuinely like trying to take this part seriously. I wrote down like I think he would play it a little bit harder. I think he would be a little bit more like I got you. You know what I mean? Where like the thing that you like about Tom Hanks in this role, and like he's playing a very Tom Hanks character, is like the really like tired, beleaguered, earnest type of like guy that like really lends to the overall sort of like dad number two.
Yeah, and that's
He's a pencil pusher.
and that is something
Yeah.
that Cruise cannot play. It's
Ever.
not in his playbook, is playing a guy who is like not effective and like doesn't care quite enough to get his job done.
He can play like I used to be incredible and now I'm a little bit of a washout, but I still have a little bit of that spark. Like that's kind of this new era of Cruise that we're getting with like Maverick. And I think that's kind of going to be a lot of the energy that he tries to channel. Is like, I used to be the star quarterback and I'm not quite anymore, but I still have a little bit of a fastball.
Right.
He's not going to be a guy who's just like, I've been a schlub in the system for my entire life. Like that's just not who Tom Cruise is.
Not a schlub. Yeah, it doesn't work.
The point I was going to make is that Hanks's character fucks up a lot. And
Yeah,
Cruise
A lot.
I would not buy that. It's your point about the movie would be 45 minutes long. He catches him. The magic of this Hanks portrayal is the mistakes that this character makes
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the years that this investigation is drawn out because he keeps fucking up.
Well, there's that line very early on in the movie where his boss is basically just like, hey, people get away with bank fraud like every day. Just don't fucking embarrass yourself.
Yeah, stop showing your ass. Or
Don't let him leave the country.
You won't get that corner office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to hear a joke?
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock.
All right. Next category is favorite scene and most iconic moment. So twofer, kind of a split category here. This one's tough for this movie. I think the most iconic moment might be any image of Leo in the Pan Am
I was going to say
uniform.
that whole Pan Am sequence is, that's like what I knew about this movie before ever actually seeing this movie.
What does everyone think? What do you think, Erin? For most iconic, like when someone says "Catch Me If You Can," like what is the first image that jumps in your head?
I would say I agree that the pilot uniform and any of the Pan Am sequences are like the thing that you associate with this movie. But if you're saying like the movie as a whole, as somebody that like maybe has seen it, the thing that I think about a lot is when he's caught, when the checks are flying. And I don't know, I would
with
say
the
that's-
machines, the
with
France.
machines. Yeah. Which is, I love that. And I think like that's a different sort of iconic. When you think of like iconic of like what everybody knows about this movie, it's the Pan Am. And when you think of like iconic as like the scene itself being iconic to the movie, I'd probably say
What about favorite scene? What's your favorite scene? Can you pick one? It's really hard for me to pick one.
I think it's when he when they're face to face in the hotel room for the first time. I think that
I
is
agree.
like,
That's
ooh,
my favorite. Yeah. That's
so well
good.
directed, so well shot. It's just like, oh my God, it's so smooth.
Yeah. It's like the movie in a nutshell. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean?
I think that has to be the one.
Yeah.
Maybe the only other thing that I will ride for is him running away from Amy Adams at the engagement party.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Gotta shout that out.
I was going to say, I have like an Amy Adams bias in this movie or something like that.
You're not a night bitch head?
You hate women.
Was it on your ballot?
No, listen, the record will show that I am an Amy Adams defender, that Arrival, one of the best movies of the 2010s.
All right, we'll give you that.
But I think that if anything, if I was going to point to a late point in the movie that is my favorite, it's everything in the Miami airport. Like it's that whole sequence of him hiring the stewardesses to like basically act as a shield for him as he's walking through, and just having one person talk to him so that he can keep his head low with his sunglasses on, and then have like literally just this perfect V formation of like attractive young women to just like for everybody else who's trying to find him to like distract them.
Or even the beginning of that sequence when he is about to meet her, when he's waiting outside the airport.
All the people, and he's like
really good.
He's like, that's one of the best things that isn't explicitly stated in this movie is like Frank's power of observance. Of observation is
he's
incredible.
So smart.
He's just constantly like paying attention to everything. He's like, I noticed that you had a wedding ring on. Like, tell me about your family. Like every like little detail about people, he is just able to pick on immediately.
Yeah, it goes back to the like singing along, that it's like he's observing them and all of that.
Mimicking
the doctors in the movies, the lawyers in the movies, and then he does a phenomenal job, and they're like, this is like the preliminary hearing, dude. Like, what are you doing?
That's really
like,
good.
Save it for next week.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue like I think that the pinnacle is what you guys said, like the face to face, but I just gotta throw out a couple other ones here that are worth the shout out. The substitute teacher.
Oh yeah.
Very first con.
That has to be at least a nominee. Jennifer Gardner, prostitute. Our sex worker
forgot that Jennifer Gardner was in this movie as a lady of the evening until watching it, and I was like, is that fucking Jennifer Gardner?
You know, so much happens in this movie that I forgot that happened during our conversation.
Yeah.
The negotiation of the price.
Honestly,
amazing.
I love that because, and then it's almost like a point where, you know, it flips on itself. Cause that's almost the thing where like, if you're talking about how you can cut scenes from the movie, that would be like a possible nominee on How to Train Your Time. But I love that scene because he is both like a little boy who just like sees an attractive woman, Jennifer Garner in 2002, and is just like, hi, like I will pay whatever it takes to be with you now. But then also she's like, oh, just give me the check and I'll give you the change back. And you see, he's like both a boy and also he is just, he's fully like broken bad as a con man at this point. He's like, not only am I going to take advantage of you, but then I'm going to take your actual cash that you're having.
He
so cool.
Like the amount that I know it's like fake money for him, but $1,000 back then is crazy.
It's like $10,000.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it's roughly
Yeah.
$10K.
Yeah.
So good on her if that's what she used.
Hey, good on Jennifer. Well, apparently she used to be on 17 magazine, so she can kind of charge extra.
The character or Garner?
No,
herself?
the character.
Oh,
You said
okay.
you probably recognize me. I was a model on 17.
Clearly
That's
fallen
actually-
upon tougher times.
That's extremely distressing.
Yeah, no, right?
That's actually
Which, if you think about it, is kind of tragic. Her
Jesus.
character,
Oh, yeah.
but it's
also got to shout out all the Christmas phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
Got to throw that on the board. And Walken, I mean, he gets a nom for not a bunch of screen time. I mean, he's in it in the first 30,
he's
40
all over,
minutes.
He's all over the beginning.
To get a nom off of this movie where you're acting with Leonardo DiCaprio and like Tom Hanks, and it's commendable. Like he leaves his mark in a big way.
supporting performance in a way that like a lot of times gets abused. Like Kieran Culkin's probably gonna win Best Supporting Actor this year. One of my favorite movies of the year for A Real Pain. But he's like a co-lead of that movie. It's not a supporting performance at all. And this is something where it's truly like, no, he is like supporting. He's just in a couple spots in the movie, and that's all it is. I did want to shout out. One of my other favorite scenes in the movie is the first time that Leo actually gets on the plane, because he's done the thing where he's like mimicking the lingo and everything else, stuff that you've seen on TV, things that like doing the school, like pretending to be on the school newspaper, asking the questions.
Great Leo there.
Love
And
that.
you have like the shocked moment of him being the first time he's ever been at a plane is in the cockpit of him just like, oh God, what's happening?
In this
Immediately
jump seat. It's so scary.
And then he comes out of it and is just like, hey, who's this flight attendant over here? Like, let me do my dad's trick of here's the necklace. Did you drop this?
So good.
And I don't remember who the actress is that's there, but they're all like, no. It's just great. It's very fun.
Oh, okay. That just unlocks something for me. I always think about this every time I rewatch this movie. So like I said at the beginning, I definitely did not watch this movie in the theater. This was not my first Spielberg in the theater, but I definitely did watch this movie way too young.
Oh.
And that scene of the hard cut to them having sex with the food, the plates
shaking around.
Love that, honestly.
That is like burned into my brain as like what I think one of the first sex scenes I ever saw in any movie.
That's a good one.
Because I had no idea what was happening. And then I think that was one of the first times where I had to ask my parents, like, well, what is going on in this movie right now?
Poor little guy.
Little baby Ernie was just exposed.
I was 6 when this movie came out. Probably saw it when I was like maybe 7 or 8, just a couple of years later. So unless I was on like.
You were 8 when this came out.
Yeah. Okay, 8.
I was 7.
So, okay. Yeah. So like, 8. So maybe I wasn't locked into like addictinggames.biz.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to ask some questions, and Catch Me If You Can.
I like to know.
Show
I like
the
to
way.
think that you had the sex talk because of watching Catch Me If You Can. When you're like 8
So
years old.
funny.
Yeah. Your parents are like, damn you, Spielberg, you dirty fuck.
We could get away a little longer. Okay, so next category is Fellas WID. I had a little bit of a special wrinkle to this one that I was thinking.
Interesting.
So we see Frank Abagnale get away with a lot of different things in this film, right? We see him get away with being a teacher, a pilot, a lawyer, a doctor. No one ever bats an eye. What do you guys think that you could get away with? What kind of track, what kind of career, what kind of side gig, what kind of con, essentially, do you think that you could pull off?
Do you think that, I was going to ask you, do you think that Frank would have successfully posed as a podcaster? One of the most difficult professions to play.
Right. He wouldn't touch this.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even dare.
There's no way. He is.
I hear that's one of the 2 of 6 roles that Bradley Cooper thinks that he won't reveal, but he thinks he could play. Do you know about
Wow.
this? He only has like
Wow.
6. Are you laughing because you know?
I know exactly what you're talking
calm
about. I know
down,
exactly what you're
Coop.
talking about. He's
Relax.
like, I can do everything except for
No,
6.
it's there are 6 like archetypes that I think I can play, but he won't reveal 2 of them.
He's saving it.
Is this supposed to
No,
be?
I
I swear to God, this is a thing that
This
I
is
know
a
that this
thing.
is a real thing.
And, but when you look at it, it's like musician, chef,
He's already checked multiple of the boxes.
Elephant Man, military guy, musician, chef, elephant man, military guy. There was and then I guess that's 4, and then there's 2 he won't reveal.
6 of the classic archetypes.
You know, podcaster.
One of them, Elephant Man.
Elephant Man type dude.
He actually watched a different man. It was like, shit, that should have been me. The Adam Pearson.
I always joke that one of them is camp counselor, but
Wet Hot wasn't
yeah,
he a counselor?
that's what I'm saying.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's
Yeah.
the joke. That's
He
the
could
joke.
be-
Yeah,
He
gay
did-
camp counselor.
Yeah, he did get married, so I guess that worked out for him.
So your question was, what professions do I think I could successfully
yeah,
pose
what
as?
could you skate by?
I'm gonna be honest, and maybe this is just like a little bit of pessimism in like the workforce, but I think that there's a lot of fake it if you make it in just most
Oh, yeah.
jobs in life. And I think that I could like successfully pose as a lot of positions for at least like a month
Okay.
or
Mhm.
a couple months.
Oh, Hunter, I totally believe you could do that.
Like I think that I can just I feel like I'm good enough at assimilating. It's
Yeah.
you know.
I'm gonna say President of the United States.
Okay, cool. So,
I feel like I could do
Whoa.
that one.
okay. Yeah.
I feel like the bar is low for that one.
Somebody called the Daily Show. We're getting political.
You know, Bradley Cooper, his post
Oh,
Maestro.
the other one's raccoon.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kidding.
He
I'm
is.
kidding.
His post Maestro slate is just If as Ice. He plays Ice in If. That's the only thing that he has lined up. So
Are we sure that Bradley Cooper's like doing okay post Maestro?
I
Has
love
anybody,
I
like,
love him so
heard from
much.
him?
I
love him
love
from
Maestro. Are you kidding
Maestro's
me?
great.
I'm really happy for the 2 of you and the 2 of you alone because
Art is important.
I am worried that somebody abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule and nobody's talking about that.
Not
Okay,
enough
so
people
it's
are
a
talking.
musician, a soldier, the Elephant Man,
I wasn't fucking lying.
and a chef. The other 2 he won't tell me.
Yeah. He was also a carny in Nightmare Alley. So you can-
So that
this is
con
so
man could be one of them. Honestly,
He is the
But my-
coolest guy in
for-
the world.
for my bid is camp counselor and raccoon, and he just is too embarrassed to say.
have you tried to approach the general vicinity of his sandwich shop? Or is it a food truck? What is he doing?
I think it just opened. He's doing like a isn't it Philly cheesesteaks?
Yes, I think
Okay,
so because he's
so
a big Philly boy.
I heard that it was like a food truck in Philly, and then there's a pop-up or something in New York. I just found out about it like less than a week ago. People are saying it's good, but I don't know who to believe.
I've heard that people are hounding it. So I don't know how good of
Yeah.
a sandwich it can be if you have to wait 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
To
I'm not a
eat
big
it.
fan of things like that.
Right, right.
But I only became aware of this recently, like less days ago.
Right. It's a brand new thing.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay. If no one's gonna bite on the WID, we can move on.
Oh,
I don't-
I mean, go ahead.
I'm not doing this.
Okay.
My parents are
I-
together.
I do agree that
What's it like to have everything, huh?
I do agree that like in no way would I say that like I could pull any of this off. I think there are professions and things that I could slide by in and kind of like with the minimal knowledge I know.
Right. But
Things
not
like-
the new
I
job
would
that
say-
you just got. That's not one of the things
Uh-huh.
you're talking about.
You were
right
very
now.
well qualified for that.
I'm
Definitely
a professional.
not.
Okay.
No, I am a professional, but I would say like I could probably skate by being a pastry chef. I could probably like some kind of teaching.
Teaching for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
But I'm not saying, I mean, like all the, nothing as hard as doctor, pilot, lawyer. But I'm not saying to be Frank Jr., but I'm saying that like cold emailing and just being like, hi, I think I'd be good at this. Selling yourself has got me many opportunities.
Absolutely.
So it's something that, like, I don't know, that's a skill in itself that feels like a subset of this kind of like
Absolutely.
attitude.
I think you're right. I also think that like a big thing, and this is more of a like problem with the American workforce than it is anything else.
Yeah.
But I think that any kind of leadership role in any position, you can get the job and you can just say like, I think that I have a really strong gift in delegation. And you can just get away with not actually doing any work and just being like, I'm really good as a project manager, at like giving everybody set tasks to work on whenever I understand the project and overseeing that people are reaching deliverables.
But
and
then
you
it's
can
on
say
you.
that in like 27 different professions and just get away with it.
Then it's on you if people don't. If a project is behind schedule, it's
well,
your
at that
fucking
point,
fault.
I'm on to the next fucking con. So like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm in the back with a stewardess.
Take it from someone. Take it from someone who works in marketing, which is essentially a made-up thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
marketing is not real.
That's actually very
That's a great.
I feel like this.
That's my life every day.
I actually do feel like this every day, like working in like branding type
You
stuff.
feel like you're a cop.
It's all made up.
a lot of it is actually just believing that you're right.
You're just conning people.
Yeah, you're
just
saying
lying
like
to people all the time.
Well, and it's not even lying. It's just like, but a lot of the time you are basing your opinion in just feeling confident in yourself.
Yeah.
You're not basing here like
until it becomes real. You force it to
you're not
lie to become
like
real.
Because like people don't really care if you're like, here are the objective design reasons why this looks good. You have to be like, here's why I feel this looks good.
Right.
You know? So
my own rationale.
Maybe we all live this way.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
funny.
we're all Leo.
Are you on the design side of things?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on copy, and so
I have to do
one of the
everything myself.
nicest like things that has happened to me is like having a creative director that'll like ask my opinion on a design thing, and me being like, I don't know that, but then it's like, but you're the person like that's seeing it, so how do you feel about it? Like, what is the thing? And like that kind of breaks open like sort of like demystifies any like branding design choice for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the
Not
kind
to
of
talk shop, but
no, it's true though. It is just like you have to like remove yourself from it and just be like baseline. If I'm just a person looking at it, like what am I getting?
The gut reaction.
Yeah, that matters more than all the knowledge in the
Right.
world.
I also think that the kind of hidden part of this movie, the unsaid background of this movie's taking place in the 1960s, which is a period of immense cultural change. So for someone to kind of snake by and get away with this, the elephant in the room is that like
he's white.
Well, he's white, but it's also the attention is kind of elsewhere.
Yeah.
And to tie this to a complete unknown, which, God, I hate that this is one of the movies that is now like climbing up my consciousness of the movie year, because I did not think that I was going to.
Sorry,
this movie
bitch.
Hey, that was
all.
me with Conclave, baby. Like
Conclave is good too.
Conclave, a good film.
But
I saw it twice in theaters.
Nice.
Let's go. A good movie.
A Complete Unknown is a movie that directly tackles that idea of the 60s being a time of immense change, and how someone like Bob Dylan was able to use that swell to his advantage as a cultural figure. And I think that when you're looking at this era, this mid-century time period, the 60s, which is essentially the time frame of this movie, you know, the ability to get away with something like this has to be tied into like the fact that there was a presidential assassination and all these other horrible tragedies. And
people are like, we don't care about your fucking bank fraud.
the Vietnam War, you know, there's a lot happening here that is not said that I think is relevant to Abagnale's finesse in this world. I think we can go to the next category, which is, where does this rank on the Tom score? Hanks is usually the charisma type thing, the everymanness, the homey comfort feeling. I think that because he's not really in this movie that much, there is a ceiling on the Hank scale. I love this movie. I think again, I would give it like a 4.5. It's high up there. On the Hank scale,
Pretty low.
it's more like a 3.
I was gonna say
honestly.
like a 2, 2.5.
Yeah.
There's like a little whisper of something there, but and this isn't like the quality of the Hanks. It's just the
amount of it.
The amount
Yeah.
of Hanksiness and stuff. And
You get some variations. He has some outbursts.
he has a little bit of dadness in him. I'm gonna be honest. The accent lowers the score on this. Like the accent is
But a bad accent is Hanksy as it gets.
Well, but this is a new element. This is the first time he does a bad accent. So we haven't factored that into the ratings yet. In 2002, if I saw this, I'd be like, the fuck was Tom Hanks doing there? What? That was a choice, and I don't think that I like that choice.
What are you feeling, Erin, on the Hank scale here?
Is it out of 5?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say a 3, where it's like it's a reliable Hanks.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not the star of the show. He's not stealing the picture, but it's such a reliable performance, and it's the kind of performance that you can kind of expect from this kind of era of Hanks.
I'm curious how you would compare it to Catch Me If You Can. Or sorry, That Thing You Do.
Oh.
Percentage of screen time is kind of comparable.
I would say lower. Yeah, I would say lower because I'm not watching That Thing You Do for Hanks. For me, it's the charm of like the rest of the movie. Like
it's not for Hanks as a performer. It's for Hanks as a director.
I mean, that's a movie that, I think we disagreed on how successful it was. I was a little bit higher on it. That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to just the Hanks performance, it's hard to divorce the That Thing You Do performance from the fact that he's like willing the whole project into reality. That's not the case with this movie. He's kind of just tagging along. You can very clearly divide Hanks from Spielberg in this movie. Okay, last category: recaging and re-Robin Couch.
I have opinions.
Where are Nicolas Cage and Robin Williams in the 2002 film Catch Me If You Can? You got this locked and loaded?
I have this locked and loaded. I was thinking about it. Man, this is hard, but I would say Cage is Frank Sr. I would say
modern era Cage, kind of like older.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Pig a week or so ago, and there's like this understatedness that I really like. When I saw this on our outline, I was thinking about, because I feel the same way about the Frank Sr. performance, where it's like there is he's not stealing the show, but it's like a very like intense intensity to it that I think would work. So I think like a more modern Cage, but then there's also opportunities to have fun. And then I think Robin Williams could do Handwriting. I really do.
See, I feel like I would flip these. I feel like I would rather see Cage
as Handwriting.
Yes. Chasing our guy, freaking out.
Oh, that's true.
And then Robin as the dad makes a little bit more sense to me. That's kind of where I'm at.
My gut was kind of where you are, but I almost want to rewrite this movie where both Robin and Cage are chasing after Leo. Like, can we split Handwriting into two characters and it's like a buddy cop movie?
What if Robin is Martin Sheen and Martin Sheen finds out that he lied and he joins the FBI to catch the guy?
I'm just saying, are you telling me this movie isn't better if Handwriting is actually it's actually a buddy cop movie on the other side, where it's Cage and Robin Williams that are hunting down this kid, and you have like manic, insane Nick Cage with like Robin Williams like cracking jokes and being like the wise guy, because the two guys who are like his buddies give nothing in this movie. They do absolutely nothing. But let's just take that main character, split it into two. Then we got something.
Okay. We did it. Catch Me If You Can.
This was so much fun.
Any final thoughts? You took all these notes, Erin. Empty out the canister. If you have anything you didn't get a chance to shout out, now's the time.
I think we tread all of the ground that I dare to tread. So thank you.
I think it's kind of sad that Frank becomes a narc at the end of the day. That's just me personally.
All right.
But you know,
is that part made up?
I think that's very much true. that he starts working for the feds. And apparently, like, his whole thing that he actually did help make things more secure for bank fraud in the future. That's all real.
Yeah,
So-
he did work for the feds. The reason though that this entire like fraud, thing started with these reporters like going after him is because apparently one of them saw him speak to kids about this when he was working for the feds.
Yeah.
And like a lot of his speech, he was talking about like details on like check fraud. And they were like, this stuff isn't even true. Like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Or maybe it was true in that era.
I don't know. So they ended up like unwinding and like, yeah, a lot of the shit he said is bullshit.
When was the last time you guys ever used a check?
God.
Middle school, when they teach you how to sign a check. I've never like
So 20
written-
years ago.
I don't know if I've ever actually like in my adult life written a check.
Probably for like security deposits.
Well,
Right,
that's what I was
to,
gonna
like,
say. Is
set up
I will
an
go get a
account.
cashier's check at like the bank,
Mhm.
but I'll just be like, "Hey, I need to make a cashier's check out for this amount," and then they're like, "Here you go." They do the check for me.
My first job out of college didn't have direct deposit for like my first 2 years there. So I would have to walk across the bank to cash a check. And by like association, like I have my routing number memorized still. But I
Damn.
guess that's the only.
That's baller.
I guess that's the only.
You never like
time.
went up to like a Publix and were just like, "Can I pay for my grogroceries with check today?"
I'm
think
not
it's-
that old.
I think it's different to ask. I was asking less about when was the last time you had to cash a check versus when did you actually have to pay for something with
Oh
a
no,
check?
never.
I
Never.
literally, I don't think I've ever actually. I learned how to write a check in like middle school, early high school, and I don't think I've ever actually written a check in my adult life.
That's so
Right.
funny. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
A
So
lost
I'm gonna
art.
start like sending my family like every year. I'll just like write my family a check for
Right.
money. Be like,
right.
"Hey, here's like $50, mom.
What
Go
if
get
you-
yourself something?
What if
nice."
you I haven't seen the movie Long Legs, but I'm just
Oh my
assuming
god,
that there's
stop,
some
you
kind of
haven't.
there's some kind of like code writing. What if you wrote your checks in like Long Legs code
in code?
and they could only cash
Yeah.
it if like they deciphered the Long Legs code?
It's the almost birthday girl.
I submitted
What-
my ballot
what a
without
fucking
watching
banger.
Long Legs.
And let me
That's
just tell you,
my
what have
movie
I
of the year.
done?
That's
Let me
my
just
movie
tell
of the
you-
year.
Really?
Nicolas Cage was on
Absolutely.
my ballot for the best supporting performances. Of the
I'm
year, let me
a
just say.
bad WBAM host.
And
I
I'm gonna
did
say,
a bad job.
I'm gonna say Nick Cage, absolutely fabulous in it, but not my favorite part of the movie. I think that like the entire movie has this like rancid aura when you first watch it that just like gets under your skin and you think that something horrible is gonna happen. And I mean things do. But then the second time you watch that movie, it's funny as hell.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know. It feels like a magic trick. I adore it. Like
It strikes the perfect balance between like laughing at itself and also filling you with immense dread while you were
Yeah.
watching it.
Yeah, it was really
Banger.
upsetting.
Yeah, it's a very affecting movie, especially like some of the imagery in it is very, very effective.
That's one that Lee wants to watch. So I'm carving out time for both of us to
cool.
to jump in. But before we go, since you mentioned it, any other 2024 shout outs? Like what's the year in movies been like for you, Erin? You're saying Long Legs is your number one.
Long
What's
Legs
the
is my number one. I would say my top three currently because I haven't seen a lot of like the late game releases. Long Legs, Challengers, and Conclave.
yeah.
I was
Hell yeah.
Nice.
I was
That's
floored
good
by
list.
Conclave. I love it. As somebody with a screenwriting background, like I think it just is such a tight screenplay and like so well executed, and I adore it. And like I'm not gonna go on too many tangents because we're kind of at the end of the pod, but I had about like a 2.5 months where my job had ended, but I was interviewing for the one that I have now. And that was prime going to the movies in the middle of the day alone. So I
Nice.
had a joyous October, November of just going to the movies in the middle of the day alone. The best day of that was I booked myself a double feature at the same theater of Long Legs and the Saw re-release.
Nice.
Which
the
was
original? The
the
original?
original,
yeah.
yeah. I'm a
Hell
big
yeah.
Saw
Wow.
2004 fan.
That's so
Masterpiece.
sick.
Banger of a movie.
Thank you.
Gore Verbinski. Let's go.
It's not Gore
It's
Verbinski.
Juan.
Or no, it's James Wan. James Wan. I'm
James
so sorry.
Wan.
I'm so sorry.
Um,
I was thinking
it-
of The Ring. My bad.
And please don't get me started because like I could do a full podcast on how the re-release was the unrated cut, and there's a dialogue exchange that is like cut from the unrated cut that I think is like criminal. That they.
Why do
that
you
they
think they
don't.
did it? Just
I don't know.
just to
I think
comply.
I truly think it like to cut it undermines a lot of the humanity of the ending, and I don't know. There's no like I have not any real justification of why they would, other than like we
Weird
put other
choice.
stuff in it instead.
Yeah.
It's a weird choice, yeah. But yeah, that was probably my best movie going day of the year.
Hell yeah.
And I feel like I got more into watching movies at home this year, where I didn't have the like I need to see this in a theater ceremony, even though I have like a lot of good rep theaters, where I don't know, I just knocked things off of my watch list that I've never seen, like Eyes Wide Shut or Bram Stoker's Dracula or things that like are really, that movie floored me.
You gotta let me know what you think of the new Nosferatu
I'm so
when you see
excited.
it, because now that you've seen Coppola's Dracula, there's a lot
of
of
that.
conversation happening there
Yeah.
between those two.
That makes me want to rewatch it before.
I will be very
next
interested
week.
to hear your
Mhm.
thoughts in comparison.
Mhm.
Is Nosferatu your most anticipated for what you haven't seen?
Absolutely. And I'm like
Okay.
very intrigued by The Brutalist as well, but I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that I'm not going to be able to see it till January.
I
so
think
we'll
intrigued
see.
is probably the best word that I have for The Brutalist. As someone who's
Brutalist!
not on the Brutalist Boys Hive, I do want to say
You're not.
I haven't
missed-
seen
he
I haven't
missed
seen
it.
it yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They never sent us a
Um,
screening.
I will say, to your point about long legs, you watch it or like you watch it a second time or you think back on it and you're like, that was funny as hell. Same thing for Conclave for me, especially the ending.
Yes.
The last
my
act, I was just
God.
like clapping and laughing. I was just like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah,
They did
like
it.
the
They
last
fucking
little
did it.
bit.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Fun.
It's
oh my
so great.
God.
And I am not an
Truly-
Edward. I really do not care for the
don't
All Quiet on
have-
the Western Front movie from a couple
But
years
you
ago.
do care about the Vatican.
I
Yes.
care about the
You're a-
cunty popes.
you're
like,
a big-
I care about some fucking petty ass popes, okay? Like I care about some petty ass cardinals out there. Like I'm here for the tea. I'm here for the drama.
So Ray Fiennes, if you had to vote for the Oscars, Ray Fiennes is your pick to win Best Actor.
Sure.
Okay.
I could, you know what? It's the weird type of movie where I could see that happening, but it would be like, yeah, I guess I'm happy for it, but that's probably not my favorite performance of the year, but one that seems like it would win an award.
Worthy.
You know.
Worthy.
Mhm.
Are we do you think we're allowed to talk about our picks? Do you think it's okay?
I mean, we're allowed to talk about our picks.
Okay. I had Coleman Domingo as my best actor. Runner up is Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown.
So you know it's funny. My number one pick was Timothée Chalamet. My runner up was Coleman Domingo.
Interesting.
So look at that. I think that's going to be between the two. I think Ray Fiennes is probably running in third. I
left him out of my phone.
I sent Drew a couple screenshots. Drew got a little preview of my bracket. We might just have to do a little mini thing of going through our best of the year bracket, what we submitted. But it's a very interesting movie year. I will say that.
It really
2024.
is, yeah.
It's been something that I do not feel strong about a number one movie of the year. I have like a top 4 or 5.
You
and
know
I'm like,
I do.
I'm like, any of them could be my number one on any given day. So
Yeah. You know I'm in the sands of Arrakis.
yeah, I know
swimming.
You are. I know you are.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up there.
Sweet.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Like and comment and let us know your thoughts on Catch Me If You Can, a Steven Spielberg film, the second collaboration with Tom Hanks, and the final Tom Hanks of this series. As we get to the end with only one more, which is also a Steven Spielberg film. Check out WeBoughtAMic.net to get every episode in your inbox, and We Bought a Mic on Patreon, patreon.com/WeBoughtAMic, $5 a month to get exclusive episodes and goodies, and maybe in the new year, some more goodies, including archive backlog of old episodes. I'm starting to put old episodes of the show behind the paywall, including conversations on films such as Joker and How to Train Your Dragon 3, and special episodes such as our hip hop supergroup special episode.
I think
draft.
the Hip Hop Supergroup is the last time that I won a competition on this podcast.
I think that was the most
5
upset
years
I've ever
ago.
been in my life.
That was tough.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
good times.
Yeah. So patreon.com if you want to listen to that. Next week, stick around for Minority Report, a Tom Cruise film, the last movie in our Tom v. Tom series. It will be the last episode of 2024. So we're happy to send you off with that one. Erin, thank you so much. We are so glad to have finally done this episode with you. We cannot wait to have you on again in the near future. Please let the people know where they can find you, what you want to plug, any parting words, any life advice, recommendations, anything you want to say before we go.
Yeah, I'm eRob almost everywhere, ER0B. Most notably Letterboxd and Twitter. I haven't fully migrated to Blue Sky.
Please do.
And
We need you over there. It's dire without you.
I have it as like birthday drafts insurance, which is when I post all my drafts on my birthday. And I also do about 2 posts a month at Substack, er0b.substack.com. One being a kind of general roundup of music, movies, culture, things I've liked during the month, and the other one being a full album essay in the middle of the month. So
hell yeah. That's awesome. We will definitely link all of that in the show notes. And as far as Twitter goes, I have tried to stay away since the election.
Sure.
But I keep the accounts, I keep promoting the show. But maybe we can try to make Blue Sky happen.
Let's make Blue Sky happen.
It's
Sure.
It's something.
You know what, Ernest? I really think that you should take on managing our Blue Sky accounts.
Oh, I should?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think
I'll
that
think about it.
I think that you should be the responsible party for that.
Until then, thanks again, Erin.
Thank you.
Keep it Pan-Ammy. Keep it knock
Keep it
knock.
scammy.
Keep it
Louisiana bye. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Hey.
We will see you. This will probably post after Christmas, but we're recording before Christmas. And we'll see you before 2025 with Minority Report. Until then, keep everyone in your good thoughts.
Are you on like a timer that you have to beat or something?
You're messing my vibe because I was planning on putting like beautiful Christmas music as we're being sent off, and now you're interrupting me.
Oh,
and now I'm just gonna drag it out even longer.
Well, bye.
Bye.